All right, good morning. We're going to call the meeting to order. If folks can make their way to their seats, please. Before we get started, we actually do have a new process for reading our preamble and our instructions. And so I'm going to turn it over to Evelyn to get us prepared for that.
In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and Section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conduct their meetings in a manner modeled after Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Recusals from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that online participants use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Proper channels for comments are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the Wednesday 12 p.m. deadline are collected by City Planning staff and disseminated to the Commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Proper channels for public comment. Sending an email to the City Planning at clevelandohio.gov address with a comment or a letter. Calling and/or leaving a message at 216-664-2210. Sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall, 601, Lakeside Avenue, Suite 501, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. Meeting rules and procedures. The chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the Commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask planning staff to summarize Design Review Advisory Committee recommendations, if applicable, and any public comments received. Public comments received through the proper channels by the deadline are distributed to Commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff, if applicable. The Commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any Commission member, except the chair, may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Evelyn, and shout out to our AI bot for reading our instructions and preamble. Can you please call the roll?
Anthony.
Present.
Fluker.
Present.
McCray Scott.
Present.
Sergeant.
Present.
Slife is not present. And Whitfield.
Present.
All right.
We do have a quorum. So our first order of business, welcome again, everyone. Our first meeting of the new year. Today is Friday, January 16th. Thank you all so much for being here. We will approve the minutes from our December 19th meeting. If I can have a motion for that, please.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the December 19, 2025 minutes as presented. Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Anthony.
Yes.
Fluker.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Sergeant.
Yes.
And Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our first order of business today is a conditional use pedestrian relay overlay district, mixed use building renovation. The project address is 4732 Lorain Avenue. Do we have Tyler Brummett representative here today? Okay, you can come up and join. We'll hear the staff presentation first. And we'll turn it over.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Xavier Bay. I'm the zoning planner with City Planning. Okay, so today, next slide, please. Today, you're hearing this proposal because a change of use is being proposed for the second story of this existing mixed-use building. Basically, the property is located within a pedestrian retail overlay and a local retail business district on Lorain Avenue. Next slide, please. And so here you can see some context photos showing you what the property in question looks like, as well as up and down Lorain Avenue. The property is adjacent to other retail uses across the street from the metro, right there on Lorain, really close to Urban School. Next slide, please. And so the conditional uses here are required because the applicants are have an existing curb cut over the sidewalk. They're also proposing to have parking spaces within 40 feet of the right-of-way along Lorain Avenue. And these items basically require your conditional approval. And the conditions you're looking at are if the size or shape of the layout of the property is subjects to property to not being used, also subjects no other suitable location for the driveway. And so this access off of Lorain is the only access point of the property. There's no way to access from the rear, and it's already in existing context. Next slide, please. And so the property also requires a conditional use for having an interior side yard larger than 4 feet. And really the condition here, the rationale for approval, if you choose so, is based on the residential use of the property. Next slide. That about it sums it up. I do want to mention that Landmarks staff had asked that the landscaping and screening come back to them for final approval, as this is in the Landmarks district. But basically, this body is charged with hearing and deciding to approve or deny these specific conditional uses you see on the screen, recapping the off-street parking spaces within 40 feet of the right-of-way, the driveway being across the sidewalk, as well as the interior side yard greater than 4 feet. And lastly, I did want to mention staff has worked with the applicant to improve the site with the landscaping screening you see on the screen, as well as negotiating, trying to reduce parking within the 40 feet of the right-of-way. We also have the applicant here, as you can see, who can explain their project further if needed.
Thank you, Xavier. Tyler?
Must not have been paying attention. So good morning, guys. So the building there's been use that's changed over the years. It used to be a daycare, and the first floor use is a new restaurant that's going in called Hereafter. I'm part of the whole block development over the last 2 years. And then upstairs, just going back to its original use, which is an apartment. That parking lot has been there prior to probably maybe even being alive. So what I'm trying to do is just update it, clean it up, based on Landmarks requirements, striping, sealing it, adding some landscaping. If you do want to hop back to the CAD drawing, yeah, so the rocks are just a placement as that. So that's either going to be rock or mulch based on what Landmark would like to see. Adding a 4-foot metal fence that goes all the way across to kind of give it a better landscaping appeal. And then the parking lot is going to be used for the restaurant, obviously. And then one of the spaces are for the apartment above.
Thank you, sir. Fellow commission members, any questions or comments?
No, Madam Chair, this appears pretty straightforward. I'll entertain making a motion to approve. There's no number here, so to approve the conditional use as requested at 4732 Lorain Avenue with the following understanding that variances for off-street parking within 40 feet of the right-of-way, driveway access across the parking lot, and there's interior yard more than 4 feet. Additionally, the applicant shall work with staff to work on landscaping and screening of said parking lot.
A second. We have a motion and a second.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Next up on the docket, we have an additional pedestrian retail overlay district apartment renovation. The project address is 10511 Madison Avenue. Do we have Mr. Mahad Nasir present or online? Okay. Feel free to have a seat, sir. Good morning. We'll start with Xavier first, and then we'll turn it over to you.
Good morning again. My name is Xavier Bay, zoning planner with City Planning. This proposal is coming before you because the applicant is proposing to change the use of the first story of this existing building to be used for residential uses. And so again, it's located in a local retail district within the pedestrian retail overlay. This property is on Madison Avenue, just adjacent to the previous project you've seen with Camelot Bakery and the previously approved Amazon warehouse. Next slide, please. Here you can see some of the existing conditions, proposed conditions, and context. On the top of the screen on the left, applicant is proposing landscaping screening as well as parking to face the adjacent property to the west. And then on the bottom of the screen, you can see up and down Madison Avenue, there's a lot of existing legacy semi-industrial uses as well as some retail uses. Next slide, please. And so you're seeing some similar conditional uses here. There's an existing curb cut along the pedestrian retail overlay, as well as parking spaces being proposed within 40 feet. Again, same rationale here is for you to contend your approval on. Basically, there is no other access for the property. The only access is off of Madison Avenue for the driveway. You're also, deciding if the size, shape, layout of the subject property doesn't permit a better suited location. Next slide, please. So another conditional use that's required here is for a residential use on the first floor. Basically, within the PRO district, whenever there's not a retail use on the first story, or if it's residential without a lobby use on the first story, requires a conditional use from this body. And so some of the standards you're looking at on this approval are listed on the screen. If the subject space was designed specifically for the use, if denial of application results in long-term vacancy, and also if there's an immediate need for this in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Lastly, the conditional use for the interior side yard being greater than 4 feet is required. Again, all these conditions already exist, and the rationale for this approval is if the property owner is proposing residential, that's really to allow the air and light for the residential uses of the property. I will lastly mention we did work with the applicant to reduce parking within 40 feet of the right of way. The first parking stalls begin about after 20 feet or so. And, also, improving the site with landscaping and screening. Sorry. Thank you. We have Mohammed here to explain further his proposal if needed.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes.
Madam Chair, I also want to recognize that we have Council Member Shaw in the audience who represents this area.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director.
Good morning, everybody.
Yep.
So everyone can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So the proposed use here is to turn this into 11 units. This property, since its inception, never was meant to have any retail or had any retail businesses in it. This project was actually granted the conditional use approval that I'm requesting today back in, I believe, 21 or 22. Permits were pulled, and a lot of the work, if you go back to the floor plan, on the first floor, that framing of the apartments, that already exists because that work was done. I am originally from Israel. I was over there in 23 when I acquired this property. I've had since then certain issues to be making it back full-time in Cleveland. I've came back to Cleveland last year. I tried to pull the permits again, and I was told my permits were expired and I have to go through the process again. So here I am today with new drawings, new plans, requesting the conditional approval so I can continue this project and, improve that part of the neighborhood because I want to make every part of Cleveland look very pretty.
We appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Fellow commission members, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I just had two comments that part of this purview, but would recommend that staff pay attention. The first of which is residential on the first floor on a very heavily traveled street is somewhat difficult because people are walking along the sidewalk and they could potentially view into units and so forth. So I think as a property owner, you think about how you might help mitigate that. Obviously, you want to make sure that the storefront feels vibrant, but then you have that dichotomy of residential versus doing that. The second thing is, this is for staff primarily. It seems like that parking lot is really tight. So to start adding screening and everything is going to make compromise on how one negotiates maneuvers in and out of that parking lot. So maybe as you guys look at that, pay attention to those two items.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Also want to recognize Councilman Slife is present.
All right, I suppose I'll make this one since it's very similar and the circumstances of an existing condition exist for conditional use in a pedestrian overlay. So I move to approve address 10511 Madison Avenue for the conditional use as requested, with the caveat that we're approving this for 40 parking being within 40 feet of the right of way. Driveway access across the sidewalk. There's a non-retail use on ground floor, to which I mentioned about residential, and the interior side yard is more than 4 feet. We ask that the applicant work further with staff in potentially reducing the amount of parking, screening, and pay attention to that residential issue on the first floor.
We have a motion?
A second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slife,
Yes.
and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion is
Motion
approved
carries. Thank you so much.
with conditions.
Yep. Good to go. Thank you, sir. All right, we are going to be moving into design review. First up, we have Euclid Corridor Buckeye Design Review, case number EC 2025-021. This is Cleveland Foundation A1 Building Demolition. The project address is 7107/7113 Euclid Avenue. I know we have a number of project representatives here, Victor, Roseanne, and Michael. Okay, wonderful. I'm just going to take a moment to swear you all in before we go ahead and get started. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, and appreciate you all having your mics on. Your slides are up here on the screen. And then I just want to note for commission members, the notes in our agenda from the just looks like July 17th design review meeting, along with a couple of other notes leading up to this week. Go ahead and start.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee, for meeting with us today. We're very excited to be back and share with you the progress that we've made. I'm Roseanne Potter. I'm Chief Growth Officer and Chief Financial Officer at the Cleveland Foundation. I have with me today Vic Barbalato, our Vice President of Real Estate, and Michael Hood, our Senior Manager of Midtown Placemaking and Community Development. And we're excited to give you this update and that we've been really working very hard and have some exciting news to share with you today. But before we get started, there's one thing that I would like to make sure this committee understands about not only this property, but all of the property that we have bought between our headquarters and 71st Street here in Midtown. And the sole purpose of that was for us to acquire the land so that we could act as shepherds to make sure that it was developed in line with the original Midtown plan, master plan, in that it would take into consideration communities' needs and feedbacks, and that it would be a collaborative effort in that development. And that was really the first and foremost reason that we have purchased any of these properties. So we heard the couple of conditions yesterday from the design review. Vic is going to hand out for you the requested site plan that they had, so we think it will satisfy those conditions. And we're here today to respond to the motion that this committee asked us for back this summer. We've divided the presentation into three parts. First, very brief recap of the presentation, followed by our response to the motion, and then great news about exciting development for the site. So next slide, please. Great. At our last meeting, we requested approval for full demolition of the former A1 liquidator building at the corner of 71st and Euclid. We spoke about the condition of the building and emphasized that we strongly believe that a partial demo or renovation not only not be economically feasible, but not marketable as well. We would not be the developers on this site. We would retain land ownership and be the land lessor, but we have spoken to various developers, and you'll see later in the presentation that we do have an LOI with a condition of full demolition only. We also provided a letter of support from Councilwoman House Jones. We also shared with you that we had secured a $325,000 demolition grant from the Ohio Department of Development that was expiring at year end. And we have since then requested the extension of that demolition grant to July of this year. And we are still waiting to hear back, but we've had promising communications in the meantime. We have contacted, since we last met, a second time we've gone back to all the muralists who commissioned work on both the south and west facades and provided them not only with the photos, but also the explanation of the reason for the demolition work, and they understand it and agree with the demolition of the building. We submitted yesterday an additional letter, not yesterday, 2 days ago, an additional letter of support from Ashley Shaw at Midtown, who's excited about this potential project and fully supports the full demolition of the building. But most importantly, and Vic's going to share with you, we're really excited and we've done a lot of work in that we do have a signed LOI with Signage to lease the site at a future date to put in, develop workforce housing with an activated first floor for community, but it is predicated on the condition of full demolition only. Next slide, please. So these pictures, this shows the current condition from the exterior, and on the right, you can see the three parcels that the building sits on between 71st and 72nd, right on Euclid Avenue. It is a 500,000 square foot structure with a total basement built back in the 1920s, and it has been unleased since 2019. We did have a couple of nonprofits use it for material storage for a couple of years ago, including ourselves, until the tornado of 2023 that lifted off the roof and has since then made the building unsafe, even for storage purposes, which we will show in a minute. Next slide, please. So the key considerations that we'd like you to consider today include not only that the building is not a protected historic structure, the building's current condition makes it economically unfeasible to salvage parts of the building. It would stop the project from moving forward with the current LOI we have signed with Signage, or most likely, to be honest, any other future developer. We have a limited amount of time to take advantage of this demolition grant that we've extended twice now, and doubt we could get extended for a further time. Next slide, please. So these are some, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We can kind of skip over the stuff that was previously presented and just focus on what you all ascertained from the conversation.
Okay, so you saw some of these pictures from before.
Yeah.
I did just want to say to you that even since these pictures, not only is there asbestos, PCB, foundation cracks, flood water, there are literal mushrooms growing in the basement of the building. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vic now, who's going to give you some more information going forward.
Good morning, everyone. So at our meeting in August, you had asked that as we come back with some additional information. The formal motion is on the screen here. You asked us to return with additional details about our campus, as well as proposed uses for the building. But outside of that formal motion, what we really took away from our conversation was that the commission here wanted to understand three things better. The first is, what's the foundation's development strategy in Midtown and Huff? Second, how's the foundation engaging residents, local businesses, and community stakeholders? And third, how does the A1 site fit into our campus? And how does it deliver tangible results to residents and our neighbors? I'm going to pass it over to Mike Hood, who's certainly the man to talk about all of this. He's going to discuss this in the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Vic. Good morning, everybody. So I'm here to speak briefly about our community engagement, district vision, and long-term community benefit related to the A1 site. I serve as the community liaison for the Cleveland Foundation's Midtown and Huff investments. Everything I'll share reflects the work that's been underway since before we moved to Midtown in 2019. In our friends and neighbors meetings, gatherings we've held since 2019, one theme consistently emerges. People don't just want to see development happening around them. They want to understand it. They want to know where they fit into that development. Residents regularly ask, where do we see ourselves? What are the opportunities for small businesses and entrepreneurs? Those questions are shaping our year-long equitable development planning process, which has three components. First, land use planning, understanding site constraints and opportunities. Second, aligning resources with neighborhood goals, coordinating our real estate assets to maximize community benefit. Third, attracting mission-aligned partners who understand they're joining something that's already underway. Midtown Cleveland Incorporated is currently leading cultural preservation work for the Huff Cultural District, funded by a Cleveland Foundation grant. Their findings will be released in March. That work will inform the next phase by identifying what needs to be preserved and what needs to be protected as development moves forward. I want to pause on this image of Lamar Abner, Pam Spermelli, and Anaya King. Pam Spermelli is a CIA instructor, and she held a mural contest with her students. And the winning student, Anaya King, has a large mural in the Midtown Collaboration Center. Pam collaborated directly with local neighborhood organizer Lamar Abner on the mural that you see in the picture. This is what collaboration really looks like, people really shaping the work. Next slide. To ensure this work is shaped by community and not just informed by it, we convened a steering committee. The committee includes Huff residents, community leaders, local CDCs, city planning staff, community land trust members, Midtown Collaboration Center tenants, and a CMSD principal. These are the people who live with the outcomes of these decisions. We are participating together in consultant selection, we're reviewing deliverables, and we're discussing community feedback that shapes the work. Together, we're defining the goals and guiding principles. This is shared decision-making. The Cleveland Foundation has dedicated me and other full-time staff to ensure community voices lead the process. Community engagement is the development process itself. When envisioning the Midtown Collaboration Center, we traveled together, residents, foundation staff, community leaders, to Memphis to learn from a similar innovation district. That experience informed Black Frog Brewery, Pearl's Kitchen, the 66. That's partnership, planning with people. Next slide. Thank you. This steering committee grew directly out of years of relationship building through our friends and neighbors meetings, ongoing conversations with residents, businesses, and community leaders. This is how trust is built. We started in 2019 as, tell us what you think. Now it has evolved to let select partners review the deliverables together and shape guiding principles. Community members now have a meaningful decision-making power in this process. Next slide, please. We've seen this model work. At Euclid Avenue and East 66th Street, the Cleveland Foundation owns both corners. In 2019, the intersection was vacant and underutilized, but full of potential. Today, it's our headquarters, the Midtown Collaboration Center. You have active street life. street life and community. It's a community destination. At Euclid and East 71st Street, we own the Euclid Gallery and the A1 site. Our goal isn't to copy what's happening at E66, but to apply the same principles: intentional investment, community partnership, and long-term stewardship. One of the core reasons why we held these parcels is to ensure community impact is embedded from the beginning. Next slide, please. Through development agreements, we will integrate community programming into future East 71st Street projects. What residents have asked for is clear: welcoming, neighborhood-focused security, real opportunities for local small businesses and entrepreneurs, a diverse network of tenants aligned with neighborhood values, required first floor activation with neighborhood serving amenities. This image from the Midtown Collaboration Center grand opening in May 2025, with hundreds of community members celebrating together. This is what it looks like when you do it right. We remain the landowner, we remain involved, and we remain accountable. The demolition request before you today is not an isolated action. It's a necessary step in a broader community-led process already underway. Approving demolition allows us to the work to continue with momentum, partnership, and community voice at center. This is a moment for catalytic partnership. With that, I'll turn it over to Vic to walk through the site details and the formal request.
Thank you.
Thanks. Just a couple more slides. Is that okay? Okay. So I'll make this quick. As Roseanne did mention earlier, while we have secured demolition funding, it's only for a limited amount of time. We're currently working with ODOT and the Land Bank to extend our grant for the third time until July 2026. We think that'll give us enough time to complete demolition if we receive approval today. The decision to demolish the building did come after really careful consideration for many of the reasons you see on the screen here. But really, reusing the existing building would limit feasibility and redevelopment opportunities. Keeping the existing building would restrict most of the Euclid frontage to just one story of residential or other program of retail, and it's just hard to make a reuse project pencil out that way. Not to mention the hazardous material remediation or structural remediation costs a developer would have to incur at the outset of a project. Next slide. What I do want to hand out real quickly, though, is something that came up during yesterday's design review meeting. There was a request for request for a plan to show what the temporary condition of the site may look like. There you go. It's all the same thing. I just made a lot of copies. I know who. There you go. So this was a request of the Design Review Committee yesterday. What you'll see here is the existing building and asphalt parking lot at the corner of Euclid and 71st will go away and replaced with a nice grass lot. The center of the site is going to be utilized as a community-led micro installation that will be designed within our community planning process over this next year. With community and Mike's liaison, we'll decide what should go there, how long it should be there. We also provide the plan, though, is a dense row of trees along the east property line to help maintain privacy for the Midtown lofts. We've heard that from residents. We know it's important to them. And the best part is you'll see in the future slides that those trees can remain even after redevelopment, so they're nice and mature. But we wanted to make sure that we did address the design reviews questions. What you also see here is a tentative project schedule that gets us from today's date all the way to the grass planting. So you see that by September, we hope to have this site, in this state condition right here. You can see there, cool. But what we're really excited about today is this letter of intent with Signage that we've now signed and executed. But again,
one slide, please.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. But it is contingent on full demolition of the site. And in addition to the LOI, we know that it's important not just to talk about a a document will really show the vision for the site and the potential we all believe it has. The image on the screen is a prototype project that was commissioned to show the vibrancy, quality, and street activation that would be the guiding principles for development of the site. This is a zoning compliant 4-story mixed-use building with ground floor retail and amenities. It also aligns with the Midtown Vision Plan that was adopted by the City Planning Commission in 2021. I do want to be really clear that the final building type, design, and program may change based upon our community planning work and market conditions. We're here only today seeking approval for demolition. The developer will come back to design review and planning commission for approval once their project is ready. Next slide. And our team hasn't just thought about a pretty picture. We've also considered many design principles that are going to guide site development. The ground floor should be as active as possible with commercial or retail space along Euclid Avenue. Activating that street corner is also going to be really important. Similar to our headquarters building, it would be so cool to have a covered area where people could meet, gather, have a meal together. We're going to conceal parking behind the building now, unlike our current condition where parking's on East 71st Street and you can see it from Euclid Avenue. And lastly, that dense row of trees that you see in your plan right here are going to stay in place along the east property line to make sure that, that the lofts maintain their privacy. Next slide. And we hope this presentation has addressed this commission's questions and concerns. Again, we are here requesting approval for full demolition of the A1 building so we can deliver on that letter of intent that's been signed, as well as support continued community-oriented growth in Midtown and Huff. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We will open the floor for comments and questions from commission members.
Well, thanks for giving us a little more information relative to your vision and your anticipated strategy. I have a couple comments. One of them is, I might sound preachy, but that's who I am. The first one is, I guess I was looking for more, because at the end of the day, you know, you all own more property, you have more influence in these two communities than anyone else. And, you know, we don't understand as an institution how you plan to continue to cause development to happen in these two communities. Because I do know you own property. I do know you have influence at the Huff Community Land Trust. There's a lot of moving parts that you didn't share here, which I think is unfortunate. Don't be that institution. Don't be the institution that says we're altruistic and we're a community foundation. However, we're a real estate development company and we need to make money. Those that you're at a critical intersection of how that's messaged and how it's managed and how it's communicated to the community and everyone else. That's just my personal opinion. I'm just going to give you what I believe is your biggest threat. In my personal opinion, there's no community development corporation in Huff, and there hasn't been one for a long time. And I think Lino Famicos is, they're all over the place. They have irons in other communities. They own property all over the place. Most CDCs are at or over capacity to begin with. That's my professional opinion. I'm going to give you an example that happened at the Columbus Children's Hospital. Very similar situation with the relationship that the clinic had with the community. But what they did is they helped create a community development corporation, where they actually took some of the staff from their organization who worked for the community development, not the hospital, and they found community leaders, they found disruptors, they found credible people to help build that muscle, and they caused development to happen. That's what's missing. It can't be Midtown. It can't be Midtown, in my opinion, is a business association more than it is a community development corporation. I think that's what's missing here, in my opinion. That would then help you be more strategic and focus on real estate and not community development and engagement. That's just my opinion. I'm offering this because I care. I live at 82nd and Euclid. I'm never invited to the community meetings, but it ain't about me. But it's about what I've seen happen over the last 25 years on the corner of East 82nd and Euclid. And I hope that you don't repeat what your colleagues have at the Cleveland Clinic. Not being transparent, trying to go around and collect churches under the auspices that the church is actually causing this to happen. I know you're not doing that, but scrutiny and people's lens are different when you're a developer. That's just the ecosystem you're playing in now. That's just my opinion. This is a critical thing, and it's not branding and marketing. It's actually true, authentic messaging on how you plan to approach that. Thank you.
May I respond?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Let's hear from
Okay.
a couple of the other commissioners first.
Madam Chair, yes, to Victor. I do have a concern. Sorry, I have concern about the letter of intent.
Yeah.
Are they sincere about what they want to do, and how soon do they want to do it after, if and when this is approved?
No, it's a great question. I mean, Signet has been a great partner with us. They actually managed our building when we first moved in to kind of help us understand how to manage a property. My thought would be step one was even understanding if demolition would be approved. If not, Signet really made it very clear they wouldn't pursue the project with us. But once we hopefully achieve approval, we would then go into financial analyses, pro formas. We have to, Mike has to work closely with them and understand what community benefits can actually be integrated into the project. My guess is this is not a project we could deliver on next year, right? I mean, there's time, there's market conditions we're all dealing with right now, but we are sincere in the LOI, and I know our partnership with Signet is sincere.
Because my concern is, I just don't want this to be a blank slate.
Of course.
Going on there.
Yeah, and nobody does.
No, we don't either.
Yeah.
But what we do want to do is take advantage of this demolition grant. We want to get this site to shovel ready. And in the meantime, we wanted to have it be you can see, we put the small activation in the middle of it. We want it to be, amenable to the community, utilized, something aesthetically quite attractive. But our first goal is that we do need to take advantage of this grant, or it won't be feasible for us to demolish it any other way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other commission members, comments or questions, please?
I have a question.
Yes.
What is your plan B if Signet walks away?
We'll go to other developers.
Yeah, and once we have a clean site that's ready for development, we're sure it could be marketed to others.
Who are you working with to help you market this property, or who would you work with to help you market this property?
Well, we've filled out the Midtown Collaboration Center with the team you're looking at right here. We have not hired or used brokers for any of our development at this stage. That's not to say in the future we won't, but it is one of the reasons why we hired Vic 2 years ago and made him as vice president of real estate to help start to put together a vision for this development. But we don't have a retained broker or developer associated with us at this moment in time. But I think that we will continue to seek out partnerships, preferably on a direct basis, as we have done successfully so far.
There's one thought, and not trying to take up out of air here, and it has a lot to do with my fellow commission person, Ms. McCray Scott. I hope when you are looking at this use and with Signet, you talk to your neighbors. It would be nice to see that project completed, so you're not competing with one another. I know that's market rate, higher end market rate. But if you're doing workforce housing, see how that can get completed too. So it's not just the postage stamp, but it's also more intentionality and collaboration with the other private guy who would love to finish that project.
Yeah.
And align Euclid with housing, which helps strengthen your position in my profession.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Without a doubt.
Sure. Other comments or questions?
May I respond back to his original comment?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that you're disappointed that we didn't share more, but I just have to be honest with you. Yes, we do own, and I think we did share when we did the Midtown Collaboration Center and the headquarters, that we do own the property between 63rd and 66th Street, between Chester and Euclid Avenue. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anyone here. To be honest with you, we have talked to master developers, but that's really for just type of a what could be. our board has taken the position of taking a look at one project at a time. This is the team right here. So it's not like we don't have, dozens of design analysts, et cetera, coming up with, 5, 6 buildings at a time. That's not what we have. We do have a vision to have that become more of an innovation district. We do have a vision to utilize the property to include various types of either retail, manufacturing, office space, potentially hospitals, et cetera. But there isn't anything in particular to really share at this moment. When we do have something that our board has looked at and has approved for a one next step, of course we will be here with you and have full transparency. But I want to just share with you, we're not trying to hide something. It's that it isn't, there's nothing fully baked at this moment. And I also would just like to share, we aren't doing this for profitability. Our board adapted a policy for the Midtown Collaboration Center where it purposely will not be profitable. It breaks even at best. That is not why we are here developing this land to have this huge source of revenue. We are here to develop it in line, as Mike said, with and for the community needs, but we are doing it. The MCC makes no money. It is a nonprofit. It is a zero-sum budget.
Two things, please. First of all, I know how new market tax credits work. I know you guys aren't doing this. You got to pay. You have to retire your debt. So I'm not going to get in that conversation with you. You're the CFO, so please don't insult me. Number one. Number two, you misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not asking you. What I'm asking you to do is tell us how this all ties together. We're not asking you to make a commitment. How is this project, as your CEO stated in transformative? How's it tied back to your campus? It's a party. It's a conversation. It's vision. That's all I'm looking for. Right now, if you want to be this change agent, we need to understand what the vision is. And we're not going to hold you. It's a conversation about how this ties together. No one showed a site plan beyond this corner.
Oh, I think
and as planners, you should know that. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
We're going to move on.
I just want to make a point because it's important. This is critically important. Critically important. That you guys get this right.
Just add one quick thing and sort of to clarify, this year-long process that we're endeavoring now will deliver that vision. But what we're doing is creating a community-led, participatory process with consultants to kind of visualize this. It is a conversation, and it's one that's ongoing and developing. So what you're looking for is in the works. And if you can grant us some patience, even some participation, we could do it together and see that vision.
I haven't been invited as a property owner right down the street. I walk to your place every other day to have lunch, so I just want to say.
We would love it.
Before I ask for a motion, I'll just take a little bit of privilege of the chair. I also am a recent tenant in Midtown. My business, unfortunately, has been gentrified out, and my office is in the process of being moved right now. And so I have had multiple jobs in the Midtown footprint. I also get really apprehensive when I hear terms like community-led and participatory. That is my full-time day-to-day work in engaging the community. I think that the elephant in the room that I'm hearing across the board from my fellow commission members is perception versus reality. You can say all the right words, you can put a nice slide deck together, but at the end of the day, the shift in power for this part of our city is not received as well as perhaps your intention is, right? And so naming the fact that you are the big elephant in the room and literally in the neighborhood, just as Cleveland Clinic and King's have exploded in our city over the course of decades, it is more respectful to say we understand the power that we hold in this community. We are the oldest, the longest standing community foundation. We know what this move means, and to really just name that, because otherwise it does feel disingenuous. It does feel like, oh, they have these great plans that are in motion, they're looking out for the community, and you're saying all the right words, but that's not how it's always received by residents. Residents recognize, particularly in the city of Cleveland, that they hold far less power than many institutions and many collaborations that happen, and oftentimes things are done on their behalf without having true equitable input as to what they want to see. Can we talk about community ownership, right? This is not just about the foundation and what they want to do from a real estate perspective, but we have an economically depressed city. And so what are we going to do to think about co-ops and community ownership for the residents of the city so they can build generational wealth? So there's a lot of themes in what myself and my fellow commission members are saying. And so with that, I'm going to open to ask for a motion.
All right.
What,
Go ahead.
before we conclude, I think I don't want to belabor the discussion on the community development side. I just want to offer 2 points on, again, if this is approved, just some caveats on how the kind of interim condition is done. Looking at the site plan, the 12 trees on the east side of the property line are all deciduous trees. I'd recommend using some native evergreen conifer trees, Canadian hemlock, eastern white pine, if we're talking about privacy on that side. The 3 trees in the center of the property, I would recommend not planting them in ground. I would ask the foundation to look at some sizable planters. If you look at kind of downtown, close to where the casino is, you have those planters that those can then be moved to an appropriate site when development then happens. So you can actually like not plant trees and then destroy them when a building is going to
That's
go.
a great idea.
Thank you.
We would definitely take that, but that's very doable.
So that you understand, I'm not against this, and I'm going to make a motion because that's not what it's about. It's trying to be the best we can be in this city.
Well, what I did hear today is that we need to have some more conversations.
That's
Yes.
what I'm trying.
And-
I'm trying to make things better.
We welcome that offer, to be honest with you. We welcome that offer.
Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Okay, thank you. Nice conversation. I move to approve item number 2025-021, Cleveland Foundation A1 building demolition as presented with the caveat that they make adjustments to their landscaping plan post demolition to include a more hardy evergreen tree, coniferous tree along the line along the eastern border, and consider putting trees and planters within the center of the site. And
Design review. The post-demolition plan.
And here it is. A lot of script here. That they also return to staff with post-demolition site plan to receive their approval and development schedule.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Evelyn, roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Lutker.
Yes.
Gray Scott, Sargent,
Yes.
Blythe,
Yes.
and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you all so much.
Thank
for
you very much.
We can have these typical conversations now.
Yes, it is. Thank you all very much.
We're gonna have more at the 66.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all. Have a nice weekend. Next up on the docket, we're still in Euclid Corridor Buckeye Design Review. We have EC 2025-033. This is Reese Consumer Health. This is located at the northwest corner of Woodland Avenue and Woodland Road. Do we have Project Representative Paul Duche present?
There he is. He's
Oh,
walking now.
okay. And just while we wait for the project representative to come up, just direct commission members' eyes to the comments from design review, and this is here for conceptual approval. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You as well. I'm just going to take a moment to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear to? Oh, you had your mic. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Awesome. We have your slides up here on the screen, and Evelyn will advance them.
Okay.
Thank
you,
you.
Madam Chairman. Thank you, Commission, for, hey, how are you? So if we can go to this first slide. So I've been working with Reese Pharmaceutical for a while now, trying to help them find a new home. They are just a great company. With a great employee base, and they are currently in 2 separate locations in the city of Cleveland, and they want to stay in the city of Cleveland. And that has been the goal all along. And as you know, there's a lot of pressure for companies like this to move out of the city. Frankly, it's easier, but they've made a commitment to stay here. And it's, and so searching for the right site for a company like this hasn't been easy. And we've finally settled on a site at the corner of Woodland and Woodhill, which is the former Victorine site. The site is actually currently owned by the city of Cleveland, and they are in under their due diligence period right now, which is about to end. The site has some environmental issues, which are part of the arrangement with the city about dealing with that. And we're finally about 2/3 of the way through the phase 2, and we've identified what those issues are. And they're difficult, but not insurmountable. So this site, as you can see, is right near the opportunity corridor. And it's important for them because a lot of their access to and from the site, both for deliveries, coming and going, and also nearby RTA, because a lot of their employees do use public transportation, which is nice too, because it actually limits, we don't have to park a car for every employee necessarily either, although we are providing that. So the site is currently vacant. There were 2 existing buildings. You can kind of see the shadow of one to the right there, which was facing Woodhill, and then there was another building to the southwest on that corner, both of which have been taken down and really knocked down. And as we joke, they were kind of knocked into their basement. So we have a lot of garbage, if you will, underneath there that we're going to have to deal with. But the nice thing about this is a nice permanent site. Where they currently are is on Frank Avenue, which, if you haven't gotten lost in that corner, you've never seen it before. It's sort of behind Case Western Reserve's maintenance facility on Cedar. And they have another location on East 40th, just north of Payne, which is a warehouse, and they have one other production line there. So it's really inefficient for them, and it's difficult to have to deal with these 2 sites, and they're shuttling materials and boxes and stuff back and forth all day. You can go to the next slide, please. So what this is showing is the survey. We've got, we have the Alta survey done, and the green, you'll see the green, these are really the only substantial trees that are on the site. The rest of it is basically just overgrown brush. You need a machete to get in and out of this site right now. And we're planning on keeping all of these trees. While we're on this plan, I want to point out also, if you look at to the right, and if you look at the topography along Woodhill, where the building was there, it was sort of I suppose a giant walkout basement building where there was one level accessible from below, and we have and one from on the Woodhill level, and there's about a 15-foot drop that's sort of been piled up there, and you can see because Woodland has about a 30-foot rise along the length of this site. I'm sure we've all driven. I do this all the time. I live right up the hill from here, basically in Cleveland Heights. And so what they did when they built the site is they made a big cut fill to make this nice, not quite level, but much flatter site. So those are the constraints that we're starting with. Next slide, please. So, and these are just some of the views looking up and down Woodland and Woodhill. And there's really not a lot of context there right now. There's a building, the largest buildings are actually on the other side of the railroad, which is a large manufacturing, I think a foundry building. Next slide. So our current site plan is for a few reasons, we're locating the building in the middle of the site, and we're accounting for a lot of potential future growth. So right now, this company who is, they've been in continuous business for over 100 years. The 4th generation of the family is now running. I think we all know how rare that is. And it should tell you something about the client and these folks. And they're basically turning away business because their facility can't handle it. And they know that when they build this, they will come, if you will. And so we're planning for some pretty major expansion to this building also, which is why they're going to occupy this entire 9-acre site. They think that within the next 5 years, they're going to already have to add to the building, but they don't want to make that investment right now. So if you look at the bottom in that site section, you can see to the right, is Wood Hill at the, at the top of the hill. And this building is, going to be 36 feet tall, but the site, it's a challenge is an opportunity. I'm sure, August, you appreciate that. When isn't that the case? So by putting the building lower in elevation, its appearance from Wood Hill is going to be much less foreboding than it might otherwise be. And you'll see also in the way that we've dealt with the massing of the building based on the uses, trying to be sensitive to that as well. Next slide, please. So these are just the next few slides are just a few preliminary views of the building. And as you know, we're here for conceptual approval. This is a view, looking northeast. This is where the main entrance to the building. And I think if you notice here, we have the office wing of the building, if you will, wraps around the building. It's 16 feet tall. The next step up behind it is the manufacturing space, which they need 24-foot clear to support their operations. And then you can see the building stepping up again back further as we further and further back from Woodland, and that's where their warehouse space is, and they need 30 feet clear there for their storage needs. Next slide, please. And here's just a closer up view of how the entrance to the administrative offices will look. Next view. And then again, just another kind of turning around the building, looking at the east. And while we're here, I think we can just quickly talk about materials. And since this is preliminary, or I'm saying conceptual, I don't have the materials to show you today. We'll come back with that, and I'll explain also what we have left to do here, which is a lot. So the building is gonna have a masonry base to it, insulated metal wall panels, and then the factory building is gonna be a corrugated metal building, which is a pre-engineered metal building. And where you can see the Reese sign there, that corner, those are a thicker panel to sort of accentuate the corner of the building. Next slide, please. And then this is a view of the front of the building, the offices, and you can see we don't have the landscaping yet. As a matter of fact, today we're meeting with our landscape architect to kick that part of the process off. So we understand when we come back, we'll be presenting the landscape plan. We don't have the site lighting yet. And also what we're not showing in these renderings yet is what's going on the roof of the building. So we will be, wherever we have rooftop units, we're going to screen them. But on the big warehouse building, the system that we're going to be using, we're not going to have these giant package rooftop units on top of the building by virtue of the fact that they have some very sensitive humidity control requirements. So we have to do a different kind of system where internal air handlers, chillers on the ground. So you won't see any of that. And then also in this elevation, you can see these front windows in the offices. We're creating a metal frame around these windows that has about a 2-foot projection, but for sun shading, and also just to help break up that long facade. Next slide, please. This is a view looking northwest from Wood Hill at the end of the building. So that's their main conference room. So where the glazing system is a combination of curtain wall where we're this tall, and then aluminum storefront windows in the lower pieces. And on this corner, you'll see in the next slide too, this green corner, that's like their corporate color. And then there's a Reese sign there. Thank you. Reese sign there too. You can also see the beginnings of it, the triangle shape on the top. We have a peel on the roof in order to have clear story to bring light deep into the office, because the backside of the office is against the warehouse. So there's not opportunity for us to get light into both sides. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're to the floor plan. So the building is a 68,500 square foot building, and it's broken up into 3 primary areas. At the front of the building, at the bottom of the screen, in green is their administrative offices. It has some of the functions that support the manufacturing space, which is the yellow part of the plan, where they have their production and packaging lines. And then all the way to the top, the purple is the warehouse space. And then on the left, it's almost too close to the same color. Well, we have the blue is their cafe, lunchroom, and multi-purpose room space. And then just to the north of that is an outdoor patio. And then you can see the loading docks to the top. So we've got all that function all the way at the back of the site. And again, we're using the grade to our advantage so that these docks don't have to be sloped. We'll be able to back the trucks in on a level surface. And then between the dock area and the patio area, that's going to be a screened area for the mechanical equipment the chillers and the generators are going to go there because they have to have a full building 24-hour a day power backup generators, and the power is not that reliable. They've had a lot of issues with Cleveland Public Power on that. That's it on this one. Next slide, please. So now we're just looking at some of the straight on elevations of the building. I mean, you get a better picture of it from the renderings. But one of the things that came up in the design review yesterday, which I respect and understand, is that east elevation that faces Wood Hill doesn't have much articulation. And part of the reason is because we think that wall's coming down in 5 years, and we don't want to spend a lot of money on that, for lack of a better way to put it. Although we are going to look at changing some of the textures of the metal siding and to make it a little less, I suppose, relentless. So that's something that we'll be coming back with and showing you next time. And then again, you can see where the difference between where we have like the masonry base on the building and the metal siding, and and where we have the office part of the building, it's not going to be the corrugated metal siding. It's going to be a smooth face insulated metal panels with some articulation to it. Next slide, please. Just again, more elevations in here. I think you get the first time you can get a good sense of the scale of the peel on the roof. So it's basically a triangular shape that we're just kind of peeling up from the roof and creating this clear story over the administrative office open pen area. Next slide. And then you can see here building sections, which are just giving you some sense of the volume of the building. As I mentioned before, in the warehouse space in the back, they need 30 foot clear to bottom of structure. The production space, 24 feet, and then the office, 16 feet. So it just was sort of naturally allowed us to step the building up away from, as you get further away from Wood Hill, to just be respectful of the scale of the building as it appears on that street. I believe this is the last slide. I hope I haven't gone too fast. If you have any questions, and I'm open.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Commission members, questions, comments?
Could staff speak to the design review or the planning staff's suggestion about the parking layout?
Kim Scott is online. Kim, would you like to speak to some of the design review conversation? Kim, can you unmute and comment?
I'll unmute you.
I think.
I can comment. Yeah, so planning staff had discussed just preferencing wanting parking not on the right of way. If we go back to the site plan.
If you go back to the aerial or the site plan.
Yeah, specific to the parking lot comment, that this you can see two lots here. The one that's directly adjacent to Woodland. Mm-hmm. We were interested in understanding sort of the rationale behind that siting and if it's possible to tuck it off of that Main Street frontage.
Well, I really passed over that when I made the presentation. So the idea is that the parking in front of the building is for the administrative staff, and then the parking to the side is for the production and warehouse staff. And we really, because the site is the way it is, we felt like that parking wanted to be up front and close to the front door, where, and it's also for visitors as well. And then you can see like we're saying, you don't see the landscaping yet, which we will be sensitive to that in screening the parking with the landscaping, but not so much that it's screening the building. So there would be, low landscaping in front of there. And you can see how we've, every fifth space, we're losing 2 spaces for, to be able to have landscaping and trees right in the parking lot to try to provide some shade and some foreground to the building.
Thank you. Is the area at the bottom left, is that detention, right?
Yeah. And it's at that part of the site because the whole site slopes down that way. So just naturally, that's where it needs to be. And it's also sized now to be able to accommodate the future additions to the building.
Okay.
Because we're, obviously it'll be a lot, that makes the site a lot less permeable when we, it potentially double the size of this building someday.
Sure.
And let's hope they have the success to make that need to happen.
At a future presentation, would you be able to add topo lines to this? Because I think that how how you experience the parking lot and how you see the building from Wood Hill, like how you're seeing, like, I think that I suspect a lot of this is going to be down below you, versus something you directly engage with. So I could appreciate that the topography here is a site constraint that we're not used to having to deal with because we're not a super hilly city, except in this one part.
We do have, we do have that as of like a few days ago. We finally have like what we hope is our final grading plan. So I'll definitely we'll include that in the next presentation.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments from commission members?
I like this. Worked on this project for some years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been a journey. It's been a great one. They're a great company. They do great work. I've seen their product in the pharmacies, in the drugstores.
You might have used it and not even know it because their brand isn't on it.
That's what we know because it's
Yeah.
not on every package.
Mm-hmm.
But we have worked on this for a long time. I'm really glad to see this. I think this is a great site. I think it's a great opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for being here and thank you for holding on to that vision.
I appreciate that. That's reminding me, I should have mentioned our schedule too. I think that's important. So we're, our design is a little further along than this, right? And we wanted to come before this commission and before design review, make sure that we knew what all the issues were. So when we come back for final, we're pretty sure we're going to be okay. So we're looking at completing our construction documents in late March, early April, and being under construction by May or June of this year. That's how far along we are. Just,
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
One quick question. You talked about rooftops.
Yes.
Any chance you can get those off the roof? It's such a handsome building.
Yeah. Yes and no. So I'm glad we have the site plan up now. So, and this, I sort of, this view looking down on it is frankly not helping me. I have to tell you. So on the main warehouse building, the big, we at this point, we don't think there's going to be anything major at all on that roof because, not to get too into the weeds, but because they have some as I mentioned earlier, some very significant humidity control issues, packaged rooftop units are not the way to go. So we're going to be doing a split system that has chillers on the ground and the air handlers are going to be inside the building on mezzanines. So you won't see any of that. If we can go back to that view of the roof again, even though I don't love that view, it does help me tell the story. And when we come back, we'll have more refined renderings as well. These are still, very conceptual. So as you can see where the peel is on the roof, we're gonna have our rooftop. We are gonna have rooftop units on this low roof, but we will be screening them. So that will create another form on the roof, and we'll obviously be doing that sensitively because that's what we architects do.
Nice.
Yes, of course. You won't, and we understand also because of the grade and the slope. There are places where you may even be looking down on this roof as you're coming down the hill. So we understand that concern very well, and we just haven't done it yet because we haven't got the mechanical layout. But we've already told our engineers, you need to push these all, and we've given them a zone to work with that we know we have a strategy for how to screen them from view.
So we're conceptual, so we have some time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to commend the applicant and the client for staying in Cleveland, number one. We need more successes that way, but more importantly, for the site in a location, because as many of you might know, this is part of the Woodhill Choice Plan. And there's construction going up in and around. And this is wonderful to see how a vision with a lot of community collaboration and public-private money has actually come to fruition. I mean, I would assume you employ a lot of Cleveland residents.
We do?
No, Reese.
Yes.
You talk to music applicant.
Yes, they do. And the hope is that as they grow and, they're not ready to tell you numbers, but it's they expect in the next 10 years to significantly add to their staff. And the nice thing is, a lot of, and having been, involved in Midtown for a long time, one of the difficulties is creating the kinds of jobs where you have the workers that are trained for that job. And so the workers here are a whole spectrum of level of skill, from warehouse workers to, factory line workers to laboratory people to, administrative.
Yeah. And so one other, just an observation, this is not a requirement I wish you could have had money in the budget to put clear story over the warehouse. Because when people are working, it actually improves productivity and it's just a better environment to find yourself in. Because those folks who are probably the guys who are taking the buses and their quality of life is not as high as the guys in the office.
And we wanted to do that, and it wasn't even really, frankly, about the budget. It's that because of what they do, they can't have daylight.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
In their production, or even in the warehouse area. So,
all right.
Is that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Drew.
I make two.
Go ahead, Drew.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve EC 2025-33, Reese Consumer Health, for conceptual approval. And the applicant follow design review recommendation to consider facade changes on the Woodhill side and come back with additional site plan details, lighting, site features, landscaping, so on and so forth.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slife, and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Paul.
thank you. I'll see you in a few weeks.
All right.
Okay, take care.
For sure. All right. Thank you so much. We're still in Euclid Corridor Buckeye Design Review. Our next item is EC 2026-001. This is located at 7709 Cedar Avenue, excuse me. Do we have the project representative in person or online, Maria Roberts?
Yes, it's Maya Roberts Ward, and I'm here with my co-owner, John
Maya,
Roberts.
sorry. I am overdue for my eye appointment. Apologies. Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna swear you in one moment. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter in the hearing under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. And I believe earlier I saw it pop on the screen, Councilman Starr. Is he still present, Evelyn? Okay. We will open up after we hear from the applicant if the councilman has any further comments that they would like to share. Okay,
Okay.
Maya, we're turning it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, good
R.
morning. My name is Maya Roberts Ward. I'm here with my co-owner, John Roberts, for the property 7709 Cedar Avenue. Next slide. So this just represents a location map of the building, which is located on the corner of 77th and Cedar. Next slide. So to provide a little history, my family has owned this property for over 75 years. It was bought by my grandparents in 1949. Next slide. So this property, just to give you a little bit of history, this is the current view of the property right now, but it used to be, this building used to be a bike store and a car wash. Next slide. So here we're providing more visuals of the property. So this is the east elevation of the property. Next slide. And this is the west elevation. Next slide. So this is just representing the current condition of the interior of the building, which is a former car wash. Next slide. As well as the service area and then the interior of the building. Next slide. And this is the roof of the building. The roof of the building is peeling back, so just want to show the current conditions as well. Next slide. We thought that we would provide some some views of just the surrounding part of this property. So this is the south side of Cedar Avenue. Next slide. As well as the adjacent part, east adjacent of the property, which is a vacant land there. Next slide. And finally, this is the west adjacent, which is the former Cedar YMCA. So just to conclude, our long-term vision, we're still working to determine like what the community needs. We really want to focus on that. In the interim, we will put a grassy area there that could possibly use for some parking, as we know that there are some developments that are going on right now in that area. Any questions?
Thank you. Open up for commission members. Any comments or questions?
Just a comment that I would recommend maybe engaging with Fairfax Development. If redevelopment is a goal, which I would hope it would be, I would expect that there could be some environmental needs like to assess, and I bet Fairfax would be able to kind of walk through and even pursue, like identify funding for that level of stuff. But when you have car uses historically, that's often an obstacle. So I think let's think proactively of how to overcome that and to help facilitate the redevelopment of the property.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes,
Maya, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
My apologies if I missed this in the beginning. How long has the car wash been closed?
We currently have a tenant there. The car wash has been closed for quite some time, since maybe the 70s. But we have a tenant there. We do want to, we know that we recognize there's a lot of activity going on. I know in the meeting yesterday, that was a comment that was made. So that's one of the things that we're trying to address as well by demolishing.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
May I add just another comment?
Yes, please.
To that point, we have engaged Fairfax. We have talked to Midtown. So we started a lot of conversations about what we could put there. So we're just in the planning phase of trying to see exactly, getting ideas and think through that.
Thank you. Commission members, other comments, questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll move to approve.
I'm sorry, before we do motion, I just want to see Councilman Starr, did you have any comments or questions that you wanted to share with us?
Yes, thank you so much, committee. Only comments is I'm just glad to see that this property is being brought in consideration for demolition. There's been some issues, obviously, with the roof caving in and some challenges with that property. So just getting it demo may be a good thing for the neighborhood as we continue to work on development opportunities in the Midtown Fairfax area of Ward 5. So I do support this initiative.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Councilman. Vice Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move to approve Euclid Corridor item 2026-01, 7709, Cedar demolition. As presented, it appears to meet the intent and spirit of the zoning code. And with the caveat that the applicant provide a post-demolition site plan for staff and as a recommendation, look into further assistance through the CDC for abatement of any environmental issues that might exist. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Anthony.
Yes.
Fluker.
Yes.
Gray Scott.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
And Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you so much, Maya and John. All the best on your next steps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're moving to Downtown Flats Design Review. Our next item on the docket is DF 2026-001, Good Night John Boy Signage. This project is located at 1048 Old River Road. We will hear from staff first and then the applicant. And is the applicant online?
Yeah, she's online.
Online, okay. Jessica, I'm just going to swear you in. Is there anyone else present with you?
No, but it will just be me presenting.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth for this matter hearing under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. We'll hear from staff first and then we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Xavier Bay, zoning planner with city planning. I'll start off here just by describing the variances for the signs that are required. Then I'll hand it over to Dan and the applicant to fill in additional information about the design review process. And so the proposal here is coming before you because the applicants have submitted a permit to change the existing jade sign that's in the flats here. It's a projecting sign going away from the building greater than 4 feet. That's the main reason you're seeing this today. Next slide, please. So this, as I said, this property is located within the flats along Old River Road. Next slide, please, in the downtown residential zoning district. Here's an aerial view to also give you some more context of just where the sign is actually going. Next slide, please. The main reason you're seeing this is because this body has the jurisdiction to vary the sign code to be more or less strict than the standards listed in the city ordinances. And the main criteria you're basing your approval off of is the design compatibility, design guidelines, and minimum variation from the zoning code. Next slide, please. And so as I mentioned, the property here is proposing the projecting sign to extend from the property projecting 6 feet. Max projection permitted per code is 4 feet, so the variance required is a 2 feet variation of projection. And the jade sign has actually came before this body before. We just wanted to make sure that we move this forward with your variance approvals to keep everything going along in the records for the property. And so I'll just recap your basing the approval off the design compatibility, minimum variation from the zoning code, and yeah, just making sure that is this the best place suited for signage on the property? You also see some context photos on the bottom of the screen there, just around the flats area. You can see the signage in the area is elaborate, because of the downtown entertainment district. Fits well and from a stats perspective within the area. Thanks. I'll go ahead and hand it off.
Hey, good morning. Dan Schinkel, principal planner. This project came through Downtown Flats. Very supportive of the variance here, as typical in entertainment districts for larger signage, bigger projections to be seen. The committee did approve it with the condition that the applicant stripe the backside of the sign. So the applicant has since already done that, which you could see on screen. It was previously just black on the backside. So we're very supportive, and that's all we have.
Thank you. Jessica, any additional comments or commentary you'd like to offer?
I will comment just on the overall size. It is the width, the same width, but the height we do have a smaller sign compared to the existing sign. So I just wanted to make that note. Our sign overall is 3 by 12 feet overall.
Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure.
Commission members, comments, questions?
I have a very important question. Do you remember all the Walton's names? Oh, maybe that's before your time. Anyways. So who? See, that went over my head.
I got it. I don't know the names, but I got it.
Madam Chair, this. I'll move approval if there's no other comments. It seems like a pretty reasonable one-to-one replacement. Yeah.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Life was the first and Whitfield was the second. Anthony?
Yes.
Fluker?
Yes.
McRae Scott? Yes. Sargent?
Yes.
Life?
Yes.
And Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You as well. Like we're slappy funny today as a commission.
We had to fight levity too.
Yes.
I guess we dated ourselves, huh?
Yes, we did. All right, so next on docket, we're still in Downtown Flats Design Review. Our project item number is DF 2026-002. This is St. Maron parking lot located at 1245 Carnegie, corresponding to 1212 and 1260 Sumner Avenue. We'll hear from staff here and then our applicant. I will swear our applicant in, or two applicants in. You guys are so formal. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now and hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do. I do.
Awesome. And can you just state your names for the record because I only have one name on the.
David Bowen.
David, thank you. And
Joy
Joey?
Matter.
Okay.
Just a point of order for this. We're also going to present the street vacation along with this project before we get into the staff report. So they'll have two separate motions, but they're part of the same project.
In my presentation, I'll show both.
Gotcha. Okay, so under the mandatory is the street vacation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for flagging that.
Madam Chair, if I may kick us off with a few brief comments before handing it over.
To Dan, yeah.
Yes.
Please.
So as the commission remembers and knows, a couple of months ago, Dan gave some informational presentation about the section of code that we will be discussing here today with this project, Cleveland Codified Ordinance, Chapter 349.14, dealing with surface parking lots in the downtown area. As you may recall, this is a very complex portion of code that has a couple of key goals for our downtown area in general, which Dan will go through, but it includes wanting to really encourage redevelopment, protect our historic buildings from demolition, and limit the creation of surface parking lots in the downtown area. This case before us today is also a very important downtown stakeholder. We have St. Maron's Church here, who has an important legacy in downtown Cleveland, and a church that we may hear more about from some folks in the audience, I think. The final piece of context I wanted to share before we get into it is that this particular property, before it was procured by St. Maron's, does have history of coming before the commission with different proposals. And so Dan will sort of talk through some of that contextual history as well, acknowledging that the church only recently came into ownership of the property. So in addition to the folks who have already introduced themselves here today, we have Councilman Richard Starr in the audience. We're also joined by Dave Roberts, who has been assisting the City Planning Department with code interpretation and application to this project.
Thank you, Director. Dan, turning over to you.
Well, first, okay, we'll let the applicant go first.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, we're first. Great. All right. Next slide, please. This shows you the site. I'm going to walk up here so I can show you. The church is in. Oops. If we could go back. This is the church here with the parking garage and the church. And then this is the site that they acquired. When they acquired it, they actually did have a park there and everything. But that was against zoning. So obviously the ticket was pulled. The church has been going through this for the past year to vacate the street and to get a parking lot. When the church was first built and the church was there, that was long before we were alive. People, a household in Cleveland made $3,000 a year. There wasn't a Guardians and there wasn't a Cavs team. They weren't charging $50+ for parking for a game. And they were probably taking the transit to the church. Next slide, please. This shows you the lot consolidation. This would be the vacation of the street. As you can see, everything's fairly narrow, and you're going to see more in photographs. But there's a street that comes down and dead ends into the parking garage. This one dead ends into a structure, and you can either go right or left. But this shows the actual vacation of the street that's sitting in engineering right now. Or I mean the lots consolidation sitting in engineering. Next slide. This shows you the vacation of Bronson Court. We've been working with fire, obviously, because that's an important thing now with cars, with EVs and stuff like that. You can't put out those kind of fires. So how does a fire vehicle, get around things and fight those fires. So we work with them to come up with a master plan to make this all workable. But this shows you, and this is also an engineering for the vacation of the street. There would be a cross easement for the city for this, even though it would be ownership by the church itself. Next slide, please. This shows you what we came up with fire. This gives them the radiuses they need for the fire trucks to get behind the parking lot. These are all parking lots over here. They can't make this turn now to get back here, but this gives them more access than they have today. And so this is kind of what we agreed to. So this would be vacated, access easement, and then this would still be city property. But you can see we've donated some back to the city. Next slide. This shows you what was originally drawn for a parking lot, but then showing the access easement and the property. We're going to work with fire so they have the ability to get around it. So this design will obviously change. It's basically 90 cars. Their parking garage currently holds 120. They have a sanctuary that holds 500. And they also have a party center. So when they have weddings there and things like that, obviously 120 car parking isn't sufficient. When they did all of this over 80 years ago, they didn't know that there was going to be parking fees. So going to a wedding and paying $50 to park isn't very much fun. Next slide, please. So the cemetery is on the right-hand side of the top one, and an existing parking lot. And you can see as you look towards the Guardians arena there that there's parking all the way down to 9th Street. And we're just on the west side of that. The lower picture shows the land right now, which we want to make a parking lot. This helps the church quite a bit. You can see the church up in the corner and the parking garage here. This shows you an image from the land itself, looking towards the cemetery and the 12-foot high wall. A little bit of scooter parking. Next slide. These kind of show the processionals behind the buildings or between the buildings. This is Bronson Court. This is looking east. As you can tell, that would be very difficult to take a fire truck through and fight a fire. So the necessary, ability to get a fire truck around the church's property would be a benefit. There's people obviously parking on the church lot right now because they don't have enough parking for their needs for the buildings that are being occupied there. So this really helps the whole neighborhood of having this parking. Next slide. This shows you the tightness and the need for the parking. This is a good picture. This is the parking garage that the church owns. This is a road that comes through, and then where this black vehicle is what would become the parking lot. And that's looking east. This one's looking west, and as you can tell, you're not going to get a fire truck down there. Next slide. A little more of the processionals around the parking lot. This is the existing parking lot that I saw before. Next slide. Well, you have $5 parking during the weekday, but it's the weekends and church days that kind of get bad once in a while. This shows you Sumner Court and the condition of the street and what's around it for context. So as you can tell, quite a bit of things have changed since the church was started. And the church needs it according to the code, and we've looked at the code, obviously. You know, this is parking that if the church knew everything 80 years ago, they probably would have had parking. But because things have changed and parking costs have gone up and everything, the church is uniquely in a position where they've been prejudiced by the zoning code that was enacted. And I'm very familiar with it because we've turned down a number of developers that wanted to not really put up any structure and just knock down buildings. And so we've said no to them at Planning Commission a number of times. But I think this is uniquely qualifies to help a church that has, what is it, 3,000 parishioners? 3,000 parishioners. I think it's people we don't want to lose in our city, and we've lost a lot of churches in our city, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I live in the city. I go to church in the city. Betty, who's back there, parishioner, his daughter lives by me in the city. She goes to church in the city, and I think we want to keep these people here. Thank you.
So David's more polished than I am, but you know, give me a minute for. And this whole process started with the city. I mean, with the church asking us, you know, as their agent, to, hey, we'd like to get this. We need more additional parking. We need ancillary parking. Our parishioners are walking across Carnegie because during game days there's no parking for the parishioners. And you mentioned earlier about that's not good for parishioners, people to walk across the streets to, you know, to go anywhere, but more or less going to church, avoiding cars and traffic on Carnegie. So we do some preliminary due diligence where if we were told that if we consolidated these properties that they own, they do own 4 properties in that area. If we consolidate and add this parking lot into consolidation, vacation should go pretty easily, and then they can have a surface ancillary parking lot. To the point where, not this past year, but the year the Indians went to the Guardians, Indians, whoever, went to the playoffs, the city issued a additional medallion for that lot because they have a medallion for their 3-story lot, and then the city also issued a medallion for that lot. So at some point, the city thought, well, yeah, this is a parking lot, accessible parking lot for games for sure. So let's continue to make this accessible for the church. A, it's safety. B, they need it, and you don't want to lose a institutional church in this city. And if the church decided to sell one day the whole property and they tore the church down and built a building, you would need surface lots anyhow in that area. There's surface lots, like David said, from East 9th to East 12th. What else would you put there besides a surface lot? I mean, you would need, if you put a building there, 2-story, 3-story building looking at a cemetery, we're going to have lots to the east of it and lots to the west of it still. We're not gaining anything but a building that will need additional parking still.
So I guess to wrap it up, yeah, I think there's 2 things we're looking for. One is we ultimately want to get approval to put the parking lot there. And from what I understand from Dan, we need to go to BZA. So we're in the process of going to BZA for that. The commission can pass a street vacation, which would enable us to start the documentation to go with the access easement for the city. And we could start that paperwork now as we go through BZA. And you could do an approval with stated amendment saying, obviously, we would have to have the approval for the parking lot from BZA to move forward with the street vacation. But then at least we could get things moving because this has taken a long period of time and we'd like to get it ready for summertime.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, we will have to take 2 separate motions, but I'll turn it over to you, Dan, to share your update.
Yeah, thank you. Evelyn, if you could advance us to the next set of slides.
Do we want to go over the street vacation or the staff report first?
Let's do the staff report first. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. So good morning, everybody. Dan Schinkel, Principal Planner. Wanted to talk through, again, what Kelly had mentioned around the code and where that kind of leaves us at the commission on what our options are. In some cases, you could think of this as like a very simple case. We only really have two options by the code to either postpone or deny. I want to just, give us some background based on the code and do that refresher. And I don't believe Mr. Whitfield was with us during the first time I presented that special presentation. So I'll give a little more detail on that so it's clear to the commission why these are our options. So in that case, it's sort of simple. What's interesting, though, about the project is that it's come through the commission a number of times over the last few decades. And I think that historical context is also really important to the project. So our recommendation today is to either postpone the project and give the applicant an opportunity to come back to either seek a temporary lot or an accessory lot, or deny the applicant since they have not yet provided the required development plans for either of those two options. And that would allow them to then advance to BZA and seek potentially a variance there. I would just mention that if we move to deny today, I think it's important to include some recommendations around site improvements. Downtown Flats spoke to that a bit, which we'll see on the next slide. This did come through Downtown Flats last week. Per the code, they motioned to deny it with a referral to BZA. They wanted to make the point that they understood this as sort of a unique circumstance for a church, being a longstanding community member with a parking issue. The committee was especially cognizant of not wanting this to set a precedent because they don't want to see this code, sort of ignored and a lot of parking lots pop up all over downtown. They did request a couple conditions to carry through to BZA, and that the details of the site design and operation come back through Planning Commission as typical, but they also wanted a higher set of design standards because we typically just prohibit this type of work in general. And they've noted a number of times, just the 2 years I've been with the city, that our minimum code requirements are truly, not great. And, in downtown and in these extreme circumstances, like we should be pushing for higher aesthetics and higher quality. They also didn't want to see that lot design preclude future development. And they just put their, they agreed that maintaining a permanent easement on that vacation is appropriate. They actually also asked the city to look into other ways to alleviate parking in this area, like parking issues, and consider creating a parking authority. So go ahead to the next slide. This is where it sort of gets complicated because this site has been through the commission a number of times in the past, dating back to 2005. That's where we approved the original demolition of what was at the time the Greyhound Garage. Because we were told that there would be associated development. And so that was in terms of following the lawful procedure, I think the commission really felt strongly that the applicant was going to make good on their development plans. And unfortunately, those plans had never come to fruition. In 2018, it did come back with the same applicant to establish a permanent lot. We'll get into more details on that. And then in 2020, the commission actually approved a mixed-use residential structure here. I would just note that that approval was late January 2020, and obviously the world kind of shut down less than 2 months later for COVID. So it appears that may have killed the project at that time. So go ahead and advance to the next slide. I did want to provide this refresher on Section 349 just so that the commission understands why our options are only to postpone and deny here. Go ahead to the next slide.
The purpose of this code is really to limit the establishment and expansion of surface lots downtown without impacting development, and really to reduce auto emissions and traffic congestion. Go ahead to the next slide. Part of the code, it establishes these 7 designated downtown districts, and this project is within Gateway. Go ahead. And overall, the code prohibits the establishment and expansion of parking lots in these districts, with a few exceptions, 4 exceptions. In fact, go ahead to the next slide. Those 4 are listed here: temporary lots, accessory lots, action areas or vacant lots. 3 and 4, the applicant does not qualify for. It wasn't an action area and it wasn't a vacant lot. So we've pushed them towards options 1 and 2 multiple times. Those are the only times where we can approve an expanded surface parking lot. And in both those cases, we need development plans or redevelopment, renovation plans, expansion, things like that. So we have not received those. And so we really only have one option to deny or technically postpone. Go ahead to the next slide. I'm just going to cover option 1 a little bit because that's really where this all started in 2005. We demolished that Greyhound building. And we really needed to have development plans at that time. I'll get into some specifics when we get to those motions. But that demolition provided the temporary lots that sat on the site back in those times. And so you can get a 1-year temporary lot, you could get a 1-year extension, and then through BZA, you could get successive extensions as you're working through development. So go ahead, you could advance through the next set of these. I just have the code here for reference in case we would like to come back to it. But if you advance to the BZA slide, it basically, if we deny here, the applicant can then proceed to this part of the code, or they can move on to BZA. They will have to prove to BZA that, not providing it for a surface lot deprives the owner of all other reasonable economic uses of the site. So it's a really high bar to climb. And so we continue to, discuss options with the applicant because we certainly understand the church's needs. We want to support the church. We want them to stay downtown. We're happy that they have continued to function here and choose downtown. So there's a number of options that I think are still worthy of discussion. Go ahead to the next slide. So just some background. This is the Greyhound garage. Go ahead to the next slide. What I wanted to point out here is in the 50s, we had a lot of density around this area. And next slide. In the 70s and 80s, when the Interbelt was constructed, you start to see this rise in auto-oriented land uses and a lot of demolitions of buildings for surface parking lots. Go ahead to the next slide. And this is only showing a few so far as we've done some research, but there's probably about twice as many of these demolitions that occurred for surface lots in this area. So you could see the impact that auto-centric uses had on this side of town. Go ahead to the next slide. In the 90s, that's when Gateway and Wolstein came on board, and it's also when we passed this section of code. And you start to see a decline in that number of surface lot expansions. Go ahead to the next slide. In the 2000s, that's where we approved that demolition, and you see the church actually constructs their parking deck, the 3-story deck that stands today. If you could go back one slide, Evelyn. Sorry, it looks like it maybe 2 slides. Yeah, here we go. So in 2005, USA Parking proposed their demolition. They had their 2 years of temporary lots. The lot actually continued to stand through 2012. Discussions with the city, we don't have much detail, but yeah. But the license did lapse, and parking did continue, and it wasn't actually until 2012 that lot was finally removed per the code. But it does not appear that restoration of the site ever occurred. And in 2013, the parcel transfers to a new LLC, still essentially managed by USA Parking for $170,000. And so go ahead to the next slide. USA Parking continued to own the property since. And you could see the site here where the restoration really was never completed. So it should be a green space. But go ahead to the next slide. You could tell how just vehicular movements over the years continue to degrade the site. And it was in actually 2017 where this really takes quite an interesting turn. An illegal parking operation was identified there. Channel 19 News did some investigative reporting on it. The Department of Assessments and Licenses issued a cease and desist order. The former owner continued to illegally park it despite all those warnings and citations until a criminal citation was issued. That former owner pled guilty in court and paid the associated fine. And that really is what seems to compel USA Parking to come back in 2018 with a proposal to establish either another temporary or permanent lot. And it was tabled at that time. Go ahead to the next slide. In 2020, that's when we saw the development project. Unfortunately, that never moved ahead. And really since then, we've seen a variety of new submissions, from a variety of different folks inquiring about this site and surface parking lots. All those had been put on hold. In 2024, St. Maron's purchases the lot for about $1.9 million. And we've seen a lot of influxes in these surface parking lot proposals in that time. Go ahead to the next slide. One of the notes that I really want to emphasize here is really since 2008, we've seen a huge decline in this surface parking expansion. So the code has actually been working well. But really since 2023, we've had a couple projects come before the commission for demolitions that we've approved. I think rightfully we postponed the proposals for surface lots. But this is a continual issue that has affected the city for a long time. Go ahead to the next slide. So now I want to just detail some of those previous actions. So go ahead to the next slide. In 2005, when all of this really started, I wanted to give you the commentary that led to the approval of the demolition. Go ahead. So the commission actually approved 3 demolitions that day, including the Greyhound Garage, and the applicant was to present detailed redevelopment plans. Their temporary lots were to meet code, and if redevelopment didn't occur, their certificate of occupancy would be revoked, and it should have been landscaped. Go ahead to the next slide. And so some of that commentary back in 2005, former director Bob Brown presented this very code and talked through the prohibitions. And he stated that we don't yet have conceptual plans for a new development on these sites, nor do we have detailed plans for the parking lots, so we cannot legally approve the demolitions at this time. The applicant from USA Parking, Mr. Frangos, noted that the lots would be temporary, built to code, and removed if development didn't occur. Historic Gateway Neighborhood Development Corporation was there. They opposed the demolitions. They just for the lack of development plans and no financing details. But then the meeting kind of took a turn when former Planning Commission Chair Tony Coyne stated that he would support all the proposed demolitions, and Mr. Frangos will redevelop. I am comfortable with that, as he stated. Former Commission member and later Chair David Bowen also said that I'd never vote for demolitions, but the provision to revoke after 2 years makes it comfortable enough for me to approve these cases. So demolition did move forward. We never saw development plans, and so the site still sits vacant today. So it's helpful to know a case study that came through the commission previously that really didn't turn out the way that we would have wanted. Next slide. In 2018, when USA Parking came back, go ahead to the next one. Overall, the project was tabled, and overall the commission was skeptical that new development was cost prohibitive downtown, as the applicant had stated. Former Planning Commission Chair David Bowen said that this particular site is a there's a development site here. It's a killer piece of property, a great development property. And I think importantly, he stated that if we make it parking, it will stay parking. Former commission member and council member Kerry McCormick, who sat on the commission at that time, stated that it's a hard argument to say there's no other feasible economic use here. And he noted all the variety of tools through the city and economic development to fill financial gaps. He also really walked the commission through that 2005 ruling, which I thought was really helpful in making decisions that day. Former commission member and later chair Lillian Curry really made a series of points here that demolished buildings are not allowed to be parking lots per code. There was way too much history on this commission of not making permanent surface lots, and they'd be hard pressed to make a permanent lot, noting that it would set a bad precedent. Demolition was only approved also at that time because of the new development projects, and she really pushed the applicant to find another creative solution. Former planning director Freddie Collier also noted that the comprehensive plan focuses on building on parking lots to increase density downtown, that infill development. So that project was tabled. Go ahead to the next slide. And in 2020, go ahead. This was the conceptual approval for the Sumner Apartments on that site. So parking deck included, a number of residential. So go ahead to the next slide. So that's sort of the history of this site coming through the commission. I also wanted to just note some of what I presented back with that special presentation, looking at other stadium districts and the type of uses that we want to see. Atlanta being the one on the left where they have a lot of density, a lot of mixed use, retail, residential, wrapping parking decks. So parking definitely a big piece of that still, compared to Philadelphia where they've just surrounded the stadiums with parking. And there was also a recent development study noting that we need 4,400 additional residential units downtown within the next, I believe, 6 years. So a big need there in the market. To further that point, there's been a lot of new construction in this area. Go ahead to the next slide. And a lot of renovations in this area over the last few years. And even beyond what's shown on the map, a lot of other projects downtown. So development is certainly surging in this area. Go ahead to the next slide. And one case, it was actually one of the 3 original projects that were to be demolished back in 2005. 1124 Bolivar was actually not demolished at that time and remained a functioning garage for all these years, but then was built into this development project in 2024, 1060 Bolivar. Go ahead to the next slide. Nearing completion and sits just on the other side of the cemetery from the site. So the site in question today is in the bottom left where the cars are parked. And this is really a question of the tale of two sides. How do we manage our land? What type of density are we pushing for in the city? And how are we storing cars? Because we're certainly storing a lot more cars in the 1060 Bolivar site than on the sites to the left. Go ahead to the next slide. So today we'll look at St. Maron's current parking, and go ahead to the imagery here. They currently have a 3-story structure. Go ahead to the next slide. It's quite aesthetically pleasing, a nice structure, still in great shape, really beautifully detailed. A great addition to Carnegie, and I think really helps solidify the church's presence there. And so St. Maron's has really just noted their occupancy of roughly 500 seats, a need for about 300 parking spots. The existing garage has about 200 or 120, excuse me. And the proposed surface lot would only add another 90. So they would still need a further another 90 spots to really meet their parking goal. They acquired the property for $1.9 million, just as reference. And just as a national average, RS means provided that just generally nationally, your average parking deck is a 5-story, costs about $13.7 million. Certainly an expensive thought process, but on a 5-story deck, you would, in a location like this, you could see a potential annual net parking proceed of 2.5 million up to even 5 million. So you could see how a deck in this location would pay for itself pretty quickly. Go ahead to the next slide. And just, again, like we want to see the church thrive downtown. And so we looked at some of the other churches downtown, Old Stone Church, St. John's Cathedral, City View. Most of these churches do not have any parking at all. So they're utilizing neighboring garages. Often they have property owner agreements and parking validation for their parishioners. They're all using on-street parking. In the case of Old Stone Church, given its central location, they actually have parking permits with the city and staff that help get people parked. That's something that we're really interested in doing with the church here as an option. Sumner certainly could hold a lot of on-street parking. And they all talk about utilizing public transit. And so St. Maron's has been here since 1940. They're nearing 100 years downtown. They've previously invested in a deck and have seen those associated revenue. And I think the point here is that finding sustainable revenue sources for churches is truly important. And we want the church to continue to flourish for another 100 years down here. And solving this parking problem, we're just not getting there with this surface parking lot proposal, and a deck is really what we need to do. So having great folks in the room like Mr. Bowen, the councilman, the network that the church has, I think there's an opportunity here to really do a code compliant proposal, a temporary lot that could get you a parking deck in time that could be financed. So that's something for the commission to consider. And go ahead to the final slide. This is just a reminder of our options today to either postpone or deny.
Thank you so much, Dan. Before I open up to the commission, Councilman, did you have any comments as you wanted to reflect? If you can please come up, because we need to make sure everyone can hear you online as well. Thank you.
Thank you, committee. For hearing this is something that has been brought to my attention for a little bit over the last year and a half. And one of the things that it seems as though the city is trying to penalize the church for trying to do something good for themselves. That parking space has been vacant. People have been parking on it, and including the church once was getting occupancy certificate through the city up until last year. Then they were told you can't temporarily get this no more after they continuously do getting it previously. So one of my biggest concerns is trying to penalize the church under a law that was talking about that was invented in 1997, passed, which states that if you tear down a structure and trying to make that structure become a surface lot, is prohibited. This church did not do that. They bought the land because they see where it's adjacent at. It's right on the middle of Carnegie. Outside of that, their congregation has grown, and being able to have some additional parking is something that is going to be a need. And I believe some type of lot is something that we should be working towards for the church, as opposed to just taking them through these hurdles. And there's been so many hurdles that I've been looking at all the emails myself to see, like, what is the actual resolution to help? Do you want to see a church leave the neighborhood? Do we want to see now that we then will have a building that is vacant, like we have other churches in different parts of the city? Or do we want to put something together to say, hey, let's get it up to code, this is what they could do, and let's be able to work with the church, which I do support, having some type of additional parking right there to help support it, but making it seem as if the church is the ones who tore down the Greyhound station or tore down this whole thing is not true. And to making it seem as if the church is the ones who want to develop some apartments potentially there during COVID. That was not them. So it's like we're holding them accountable for other people's plans that it was not their plans, and trying to make a church $30 million, $20 million development. It just seems unfair from my perspective. And I just wanted to make sure, I just let the community know, I do support the church and some of their work that they're trying to do, and how to establish and keeping them in the neighborhood is very important.
Thank you, Councilman. Commission members, comments, questions?
Yeah, I do. Under why the design review denied this applicant, I'm not clear about the first item. higher set of design standards that exceeded existing, but it's cryptic. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're telling me.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll add some commentary there. This has been something that the committee has harped on for the 2 years I've been there. Basically, the minimum code requirements for parking lots in general in the city code are pretty lacking, and light touch. You know, and the code is really written for property owners all across the city, making that, you know, I think easier to develop. And so what they're looking for is higher design standards. So that could be landscaping.
I get that part.
Yep.
From who? I mean, I guess, are they telling us? Are they telling the planning? Are they telling, I don't really understand that comment. I'm sorry.
They would ask us to include that in the motion when they would go to BZA for potential approval.
I understand that, but what are you asking? You don't want
They're not
to suggest something that I don't understand.
Yeah, they're not asking for us to, I mean, I think inherently they are asking us to change our code and we should update it.
So why would you say that?
But truly in this case, what they're saying is because it's so rare that we would ever, you know, establish a new surface lot downtown, then it should be at the highest standard of what a parking lot can be, and not just.
And that's commentary on the existing code and not putting the onus on planning to develop standards. I guess I don't understand what that's saying.
Well, I think to potentially the point would be that because it's such a rare thing, the code would have to be potentially vague enough to come up with a set of circumstances where in the event that like we have something like a longstanding institution that buys a property that was demolished and was supposed to be developed and then wasn't developed, like, I mean, Dan walked us through the wild amount of things that went into this property even being available to potentially develop it later into a surface parking lot. I think, to me, I think this is it's pretty straightforward. I think I don't know. One, we have kind of two things to do based on Dan's about the code. I think to the applicant's point that they were going to go to BZA anyway, right? So I think I there's like parts of this that are we have two options based on, again, the code to deny or postpone. I think with regards to what we include in the motion, it's for kind of us to discuss whether we're talking about, again, the circumstances where we're going to look at this as a one-off occasion and have them hold to higher standards with regards to the lot, but then also the kind of stipulations on whether this is going to be something that if it is a like garage or a deck, like that generally is going to be like, well, there's no development in the future ever going to happen there, really, pretty much, you know. No one's going to tear down that deck, like deck, like later on. So I think there's a lot of things to kind of consider with how we're going to do the motion, but I think the case is pretty. To me, it's pretty fairly laid out. There was a bad actor who demoed the thing, who said they were going to develop it, and now there's an open lot, which makes it available or appetizing to turn into a lot. And we have to think about the long term kind of that.
I'm not even talking about that. It's irrelevant in my opinion. I appreciate it. I'm not trying to be difficult. What would you, Madam Chair to the airplane, what would you like to do? I want to hear from these guys.
Turn on your mic. And that's been they quoted. So obviously I know something about the site, right? It was different back then. And what we would like to do now.
That's what I'm asking.
Is we would like to make it a parking lot, which doesn't preclude another development. We do a ton of these things all over the country, and we've done it in China. So we've done these kind of developments before, where you have a parking garage and a use above it or a use beside it, whatever it is. You need more critical mass than this lot. And the question becomes one, why not 9th Street? Why didn't that go first? Why isn't someone developing that? If it cash flows, if a parking garage cash flows that much, why wouldn't you do parking garages everywhere, right? I would tell you from a practical experience, we did Crittenden Court. We lost $40,000 a month, Crittenden Court, when we built Crittenden Court. Church can't afford that. So what we would like to do is get a parking lot now. So we would like to be denied for the parking lot. We would like an approval with stated amendment for the vacation of the street. So we can keep that moving down the same pike as the parking lot with BZA. And we can get all of our ducks in a row. So once we get approval from BZA, we can move forward. And then it wouldn't move forward unless we got the approval from BZA.
Madam Chair, to the applicant. So what you're telling us, you don't want this to be postponed because you're not going to come back with anything that meets the criteria.
We're not going to lie to you.
All right, I'm going to make it simple. You guys are making it so damn complicated.
So Madam Chair, a couple just thoughts, and then I will admit a point of confusion. I think I've always read this portion of the code as the spirit of it is getting rid of parking lots as a primary use. And so one, I think it's worth acknowledging that this doesn't squarely fit with that, and would be an accessory use. It's for some other primary use. Also, I think that I could name any number. That's kind of comical almost, because we always want behind buildings on main corridors, and that's sort of like de facto what this is. And it's sort of mid-block. It's getting further away from the downtown core. There's a whole lot of more prominent parking lots. So I do think it's worth looking at with nuance. And also, just a request, there's no transit on Carnegie or 9th, so I don't want to be flipped when we suggest people can take transit, but there's no transit. So I will just say that this isn't as offensive to me as it would be to tear down, the corner of Euclid and 9th like we used to just do and turn it into a parking lot. All that being said, if we're unable to approve something, I'm not understanding why it's before the planning commission at all. They're almost, so backing away from you all, can we understand the relationship between BZA and planning, and when do things need to go to BZA first, and what value is there of bringing something to planning, and is that strategic so that BZA can see that denial and incorporate it into their thing, or are we kind of on two parallel paths and trying to figure out where to merge?
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask either Dan or the director to respond to that, please.
Yeah, I could start. And so basically, in order to be on the BZA agenda, they would have to be denied here. So it's just a procedural step. So basically, the denial allows them to seek the variance for us.
So to ask that a different way, have you all submitted a building permit?
Yes, we've
Yes.
done that.
So the zoning was approved by the zoning cluster. It was not adjudicated back to BZA. It was approved, and now it's a design review issue that is causing the potential case to go back to BZA. Why wouldn't it have been disapproved?
We also have Shannon Leonard online who could talk.
And I'm not trying to be obstinate.
No, and I want to say before we hand it over to Shannon that we did have this very same conversation amongst ourselves about how to administer this, which goes to sort of the complexity of the code and the layers of review. So Shannon, please go ahead.
Yeah, so good afternoon, good morning, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. So in the code, under this section, it requires City Planning Commission approval based on those standards. It is up to you to determine based on those standards to deny or to approve. Based on those standards and based on staff belief, the only option is to deny or to postpone, to allow for the applicant to meet the other two standards and can approve. However, first have to deny. They will go to the Board of Zoning Appeals to appeal the denial, A, and B, seek variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals for the use as well as any subsequent variances they need for landscaping. I know there was conversations about landscaping. There are very strict standards for landscaping as it relates to frontage strips, island strips, ornamental fencing. And then if they choose to use the parking lot for more than just accessory parking to St. Maron's and say they want to open it up for game day or concerts or whatever, they would also have to meet the landscaping and fencing standards for surface lots for hire under Chapter 457. And so with that, they're here before you because to obtain a building permit, they need planning commission approval.
Thank you, Shannon. I just want to reiterate, I think what needs to be perhaps some type of offline conversation about there still not being an option of approval is what I'm hearing from the councilman, who I think just stepped away to the restroom, but which is not, that burden should not fall on the applicant today, right? And so I think Director and Dan, what we're asking for is at some later point in time, a conversation about more from an administrative standpoint. Again, reiterating what Councilman Slife said, the fact that our only options are postpone or deny and that approval is not on there. Again, that burden should not fall to the applicant, but there's a missing element to this equation that we need to figure out so that we can prevent, to the best of our ability, this situation, we, the collective we, not just the commission, in the future.
Yeah, and I'll just say, so if the applicant, chose to follow the code, they could submit development plans to meet this code and that would give us the option to approve. But since we don't have those plans, that's where we are. We've talked with the applicant for, going on a year now about like what this code is and what those development plans could be, and knowing that the church is a specific, unique, use, like what those types of redevelopments could be to establish a lot, because you don't need to build a $30 million project. You don't even need to build a deck, but there has to be some sort of redevelopment involved. And at this time, they've chosen to not pursue those options and would rather take the BZA route.
It's not about not pursuing that option. It's a church, a nonprofit organization. That you say, oh, let's spend 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. That's not their performance level.
Yeah.
They want just ancillary parking for their community. Their community, the Lebanese community, which I'm not even Lebanese, I'm Italian, and they've accepted me for some stupid reason. And they know community, and they come down there, and they have their church in Independence, and this one here, and they come together all the time. I've never seen a function less than 400 people, 401, including me. And they want to be here, but with your point, it seems like the church did not tear this building down with the thought of putting up a lot there. There was what all this shenanigans here with this timeline, nothing to do with the church. Church had an opportunity to expand their base for parking. And now, you know what? The city's trying to right their wrong by getting something built now, because they're the one who allowed the demolition without a plan in place.
This was a company with 500 employees and design review asked this question. If this was a company with 500 employees, would you kick them out of the city and not let them build a parking lot?
Of course not.
Madam Chair, the one question to Dan, with regards to BZA, is this going to be are they getting a variance for a permanent lot, or will this be a variance for the temporary that they will have to go and get over and over? Permanent?
Yeah, good question. So this would be a variance to establish a permanent parking lot.
Okay.
And I guess to that point, because the design review question is a good point, and I think the code is written in order to deal with that. Like if you're a company of 200 employees and you expand to 500, you have additional parking need, right? You would also need to build, some renovation to that structure in order to house 200, 300 additional employees. So even that redevelopment or renovation qualifies you for an accessory lot.
Can we build a guardhouse for 20,000?
Let's not get into this. Why are we doing this?
This happened 80 years ago.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
Madam Chair, just a second, Charlie. This is a question that none of us can answer currently, but my mind goes to risk management. I always go to the worst case scenario. So we go to zoning and zoning denies them. Where do we stand? Because are we going to ping pong back and forth? Because I've seen that happen before. So please,
Shannon has her hand up.
please
again,
address that,
Rachel.
please.
Shannon, can you address that question? You're muted.
Oh, do you want me to say it? They'd end up going to court. I'm trying to keep it out of court because then you set a precedent. if the court finds on the church's behalf, now you set a real precedent. And we're trying to do it because we think I wouldn't even be involved. I'm not charging for this. I wouldn't be involved, but I think this is very unique in the city. This is a one-off. And this is really, really important because you got 3,000 people that patronize the city. Fatty, who's sitting over here and a member of the church, he has restaurants in our city. You know, they quietly do great things for the city. I think we have to help them. And that's why I'm helping them. And out of this, I might not make money out of it because I don't charge anything, right? But I've made some great friends. And I think that's what we do this for.
Madam Chair.
Shannon, I guess I've assumed chairperson status because our chair stepped away. So please have your say. Then I would then like to entertain a motion.
I actually have a question if we could, before the motion, yeah.
Do you have another question, Charlie?
So I'm happy to let Shannon go first, but I have a question about the impact of the street vacation, so I can put a pin in that and let Shannon go if you'd like.
All right. Our chairperson's back.
Vice Chair.
Okay. Yes, so I just wanted to address two questions. First and foremost, the reason why City Planning Commission approval is required or denial is an option if they don't meet those standards is because the purpose of this section was to not allow for any further, really to prohibit any surface lot expansions in downtown as a result of demolitions. Obviously, it's been some years since that time. However, that is the main purpose and why. Second, the answer about what happens, does it go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals, goes back and forth, that is a possibility. But at the end of the day, the zoning code currently stands as it currently does. So I'll answer any other questions if you would like.
Thank you, Shannon.
Can I ask Shannon a question?
Actually, let's hear from Councilman first.
I want to, this is specific to the legislation for the street vacation. And so in this scenario, there's common ownership on both sides of the street. I think when that's the case, universally, there's an argument to be made for a street vacation because we have too many streets for us to maintain. If there were no plan to build a parking lot, this was merely a property owner coming in and saying, we own both sides of this tiny alley that a fire truck can't get down. Do you guys want to vacate it and we'll just combine and then we can consolidate and have one big parcel of commonly owned land? Would this be a different conversation because that is now clearly there's a primary use on a property that is a church with an accessory parking lot behind it versus what we're trying to do now seems like the end goal is the same, but it's a different path at the top of the mountain, but it's muddier with our zoning code because they're separate parcels.
I second that thought.
Madam Chair, just on the question of the street vacation, I believe since the path to BZA would grant permission to establish the surface parking lot should the Board of Zoning Appeals decide in that direction, regardless of any sort of accessory parking use. And so potentially a question to the applicant, like this alley does continue on either side as public right of way along Bronson Court. Potential vacation, I don't believe helps you at this point because you are going forward for establishment of a surface lot, permission for that at the Board of Zoning Appeals, and does bring up questions around private maintenance of a block of a court that is continuous on either side. So I would question whether the vacation is still something at this point that makes sense to pursue from your perspective.
I think we want to do that.
Yes.
We definitely want to do it.
And can you speak to the reasoning around that?
It's more manageable.
In what way?
I mean, you can make a contingent that BZA approves the lot, but going back to the councilman's point, I think it's a benefit both to the city and to the church to vacate the street and make it one consolidated lot.
Both 12th and 13th dead end into the church. They don't go out to Carnegie. So it's not a block anymore.
But Bronson Court on either end,
Bronson Court
and this
goes-
would be a segment cut out
Well,
of it.
that consolidate, but to consolidate the church lot, the parking of the church parking garage, and that you would have to vacate that piece of property. We already did for a lot consolidation.
And we
So
would,
that's part of the lot consolidation is to vacate.
and when we vacate it, we also give access agreement to the city for
Correct.
fire trucks. And I think that's what you're looking for, because right now you can't get a fire truck between those two buildings to the east.
Dan, did you have a comment or reflection?
Just a note that 12th does continue through that right of way. When the parking deck was established, the right of way was maintained. In conversations with fire, you can get a fire truck down there, but the issue being that there's dumpsters and often cars parked in there. So it is an improvement in terms of what you're showing, but you also create two dead ends where there is typically a through. So that easement is helping alleviate some of that. But it does beg the question, a church that it is also saying, hey, we're struggling to pay for these things, now has to maintain more private land to a fire truck standard at that expense.
We also gave up land too, which the city would have to maintain. They have to maintain their own streets.
But the easement would be for private land that would have to be
And we would
maintained by
maintain
the
that.
owner,
The church
right?
would maintain
At
that.
additional cost, right?
Okay. Director?
We did skip through the street vacation slides from the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects. I would yield to you, Chair, about whether that is
I think we should
helpful
do
to
that
return
now
to at
before
this
we
time.
entertain the motion, just so we have the full context.
If you take it to ours is an engineering. It's an engineered drawing.
Okay, so just so everyone both online and present here understands what's happening, we're gonna hear the presentation on the vacation. This is a mandatory legislative referral, resolution number 1084-24. And so I'll turn it over to staff and then we will entertain motions for both agenda items.
Good morning, Rex Swatowski, Manager of Engineering and Construction. Quite a bit of discussion about this already, but we're sitting in front of us with Resolution 1084-2024, the intent to vacate. And just as a reminder to everybody, the vacation process is a three-step process, starting with the intent, going to the Board of Revisions of Assessment, and then finally as an ordinance. It's a 6-month process. This one, as we've been talking about, is St. Maron Church wanting to vacate Bronson Court. It's a consolidation of 7 parcels that would then be utilized for parking. We go to the next slide. And you've seen some of these before. The blue outlines the parcels that they want to be consolidated prior to Bronson going. The next one shows Bronson Court, which is about 235 feet long, 18.5 feet wide. We'll go to the next one. Get more of a colored view of it, and you can see the church, parking garage, and the parking lot. It's flanked by East 12th, East 13th, and Summer Avenue, and then Carnegie obviously is fronting it. Next slide, please. Show a little different views than you were shown earlier. This is Bronson Court looking from East 12th. That's East 12th coming where that red portion of the garage is at. And if you see that trailer at the other end, the next photo is from there looking back to the west, and you can see the ballpark at that point. With that, any questions or comments?
It's either Charlie or myself. Charlie, which one you want to take?
So I think we're moving towards first denial. The second, I'm wondering if it is put into on the vacation while we sort of trying to figure out where this is going with BZA. And this isn't really about the merits of the project. I think it's just more procedural at this point in time. Before I say that, legislation also comes back. This is just the resolution, correct? Okay. So I
have her hand raised again, perhaps before the motion, Shannon?
Shannon, did you have additional comments? Maybe it's from before. Shannon, one more time. Just trying to see if you have a comment, or if maybe your hand might have been raised from before. Okay, we're gonna move on.
I move.
Madam Chair, just one point of order before the motion on the street vacation. Typically, our process is to administratively sign off on the ordinance for vacation should Planning Commission move adoption of the resolution. So if you want us to bring that back in this special circumstance, understanding there's resolution and ordinance, we can do that. Just specify that in your motion.
Okay, and I will just say, Madam Chair, to that end, I think that's another reason just to postpone the vacation, just so we can understand process, not because I'm necessarily opposed to it. I'm honestly not. So given that, I move to deny DF 2026-002 as the applicant has not yet provided development plans or met criteria required in section 349.14.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Evelyn, can you please call the roll?
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Slife,
Yes.
and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I will also move to postpone resolution 1084-2024, declaring the intent to vacate a portion of Bronson Court.
Have a second?
Second.
A motion and second?
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Slife,
Yes.
and Whitfield.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I know it sounds funny, but thank you.
All right. Yes. I am going to turn over for the conclusion of this meeting to Vice Chair Fluker. Thank you all so much for a very lively meeting today, and we'll see you all next time.
Actually, okay.
Yes.
I actually want to thank staff on that previous, because it's difficult, and you guys provided a lot more clarity in your presentations and pre-reads. So we do appreciate your time. All right, so we have a couple, pardon me. We're holding a meeting here. Thank you. We have another presentation, I believe, by Commissioner Whitfield concerning his travels to Dallas and COSM, because we're apparently going to have one built here soon.
Okay, so we have. No, that's okay. I'm going to share a little bit. So, I went to visit family down in Texas, in the Dallas area. We decided to do that anyway, but along the way, I found I learned about COSM. And I found that my family, my sister, was going to treat me to a night at COSM, Dallas. I had no idea, but I thought it was a good opportunity to look around. I didn't have much time, but I took a few pictures, a couple of videos, and I asked the director if it would be okay to share that with all of you, so you get some sense of what that experience is. It's very different. I created it for personal use. It's not an advertisement. It's not a promotion. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to support anything here, but just to share the experience, because it's different. And everyone I spoke with said it was different. So I took these photos off my cell phone. And as you see these photos, you may see food and beverage and some alcoholic beverages along the way. But just simply to help understand the venue, You'll see some exterior work which may not relate to anything that we do here. You know, the exterior is different, but the interior, I think, is important that we see. So I think we've learned that this technology is classified as a shared reality, not a virtual, but shared. Because what we experienced in the facility was live. And in our case, we watched San Francisco Warriors and Oklahoma City Thunder as a live program. So you get immersed in this technology. You hear about being immersed in virtual reality. Well, you're immersed in this shared reality. We're sitting live, and you feel as though you're sitting courtside. You'll see that. A lot of advanced technology. I won't get into it, but it is super advanced. I spent part of my evening with a gentleman who is the hospitality professional. He knows everything that goes on in there. He was pretty busy, but he took time to find me in my seat, and we spent some time walking through. We got to see some of what was going on in the background. My personal interest, but I thought I would share that. So, just a few thoughts behind the technology as from my viewpoint. Next slide. Oh, okay. Quickly, just as we were parking, I just noticed low ceilings, well lit, clean, spacious corridors and spacious parking spaces. And that's all I had to show here, just that. As we walked out of the parking garage, which is very close, you'll see this community. It's a lot of shops and other venues. And it's important to understand that this is not to portray what we will do here. Our physical presence is different. This is in a town. Let's see. This was north of Frisco, north of Plano, and it was called I forget the name of the community. It was an unusual name. So very affluent area, very different from what we have here. It's what we see inside and what we experience, which is what I think we're going to see very similar. Is that fair? Next slide. Took lots of photos inside, so you get an opportunity to see what I experienced. We'll probably experience something similar. This is kind of on the left, sort of a view screen gives you information about what's there, where it is. You'll see dining and restaurants and beverage centers. Next slide. And stop me anytime you like. There are 3 levels. Escalator, and they're very well lit, so they're not escalators with stainless steel and cavernous, but they're very well lit. They're open. It's very, very open. Seating was open. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, and you'll see that throughout the photos here. And I'll get to how we're looking at this venue, this game, in just a bit. Next slide. Okay. This is where it gets unusual. In fact, let me do this. If you don't mind, I'll point because this is. Speaking of technology. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got my own degree of stuff here. Let's see. What do I have? Am I working? Yep. Okay. I don't know if this is going to point. Yeah, I won't do it long here.
I think it needs to be red.
Well, I'm going to show you something. Here. This is the edge of the seating area. And there's 3 levels. There's another one right down here, and then another one further down. You'll see them as we go through this. So when you're seated, you feel like you're in the stadium, but you'll see this as we move on. Next slide. Okay, here we go. So first level, second level, actually this is our server, 3rd level up top. Here you're about 25 feet from this screen. This is the screen of LEDs. Went down, I was able to see it. Big chunk of steel frame. It's very, very heavy. You can't touch the LEDs. But the second view was pretty good. It puts you pretty much at courtside, or ground level. And so I was going to show you a live basketball game, but I guess the video isn't working. Do you? These are just photos. Next, the next one. Well,
I don't think it's gonna work on the live stream, but
yeah. But you see where we were sitting, and the cameras will change and give you different views. You'll see courtside, you'll see close up, you'll see behind the basket, and up at the top. Can't see too well here, but there was these were photographs from the Notre Dame Ohio State game at the end, and there was a little celebration. And so I don't know where those were taken from, but one was actually behind the goalpost. But just so that you can see what you would experience live, you get to see it here. And that's the point I think I'm making to everyone. It's very, very different. I think there's a ton of other pictures in here. I don't know what happened. If you want to see it, I'll show it to you on my laptop. But it's my experience, my sister, and everyone I talk to, when you first sit in your seat, you gotta really need to adjust between what's happening and where you're sitting. You know, to see, and you can look up and see this dome, but not like the dome we have over at the Rock Hall. Like you've been in there and watched the movie, you've been watching movies up on the ceiling, but not the same. You actually feel it's like you're right courtside, or in this case, courtside, and you feel a part of it, but you have privacy. Your friends and family or whoever you're with, and sit either level. Down the first level, I think the second one is best, is up high if you want to sit up high. But I thought it was a great alternative to having to drive out to be there to park. We've all been there, and we know what that's like. So it was very intimate. Want to do business, entertain, just have a family experience. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I'm going back for another one. My sister's been there, I think, 3 times. And everybody I spoke with really enjoyed it. So I have a couple of contacts. I have, there's a district manager who was not there. I didn't get to meet him, but I do have a contact for him. And the hospitality professional who knew everything that was going on here. He really showed me around. So I got a chance to see what's happening, how this comes together. And strictly from the inside, what happens outside, because their venue is very different from ours, obviously. So not trying to make anything there, but we can make it really comfortable and enjoyable. But inside was the same. It's pretty much the same. You'll see that big square box. I kept looking for this big dome. It doesn't exist. It's done in through technology, but it's done so well that you really feel that you're right there, trackside, courtside.
So I have a question. So you can put any game or any activity on these screens?
Yes.
And like you're sitting right there.
I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, the screen is probably as far as that wall, but it
Yeah.
feels like you're sitting right there at your
Yeah,
table.
I get it. I get it.
Every game that they show is live. Every event, well, the movies, obviously, they do some
Mhm.
movies. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what's interesting? You ever watch The Matrix and you see the little things coming down? Yeah, well, it feels like it coming right down on you. That's how they do it. I mean, it's just incredible.
Director has indicated that Ms. Romanoff
Yes, I think.
is
Yes.
Nora.
Thank you, Commission Member Whitfield, for the presentation. I just wanted to acknowledge for the group that Nora Romanoff, project representative for COSM Cleveland, is also joining us virtually, just in case there are any questions for her about the Cleveland project, or if she has any additional general comments to offer on this informational presentation.
I do have a question for Tony and one for Ms. Romanoff. Well, approximately, what was the capacity? I know you didn't have numbers, but.
Um, hmm, I wouldn't guess. It's, I don't know, I could get, there's so many venues to sit and watch. I mean, courtside, 3 levels, maybe a few thousand.
Oh, okay. Ms. Romanoff, two questions that I can't recall. The first is, are there like areas outside the viewing area that people can sort of recreate and hang out? And secondly, what's the capacity of the Cleveland COSM?
Good afternoon to the commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Fluker. Well, I guess now Chair Fluker for this meeting, and especially thank you to Mr. Whitfield. Have you ever heard the term? I don't want to say nice things about you. I want to hear people say nice things about you. This is. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to overhear this. I appreciate it. I want to say, and please forgive me, I'm not an expert on COSM Dallas by any stretch. The capacity is roughly 2,000, and I think it varies based on the event. I will have to get back to you, Mr. Fluker, on the finished capacity of our COSM, and I will make sure that that gets to the director so that you can have your question best answered.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
I have a question. What would the price of a ticket for something like that be? Or do they have memberships, or how does that work?
I'm not sure if we have anyone here who's positioned to answer that directly. I think it varies by the event.
Okay.
Nora, I don't know if you want to say more than that.
Yes.
We'll have the COSM team and the development team back in front of the planning commission at some point as they finalize their design as well. So we can perhaps work with Nora to integrate some of that information about COSM into the presentation.
Yes, the chair of the director. Absolutely. We will plan on that.
Mr. Shingo? Yeah.
COSM has been highlighted multiple times recently during some of these big national sporting events. Kind of like a 60-minute sort of feature. And in that, pricing was discussed like, these more matinee sort of level, like as low as like $10, but then big events being several hundred. So it really depends on the feature and the day.
I was told there are areas with very good seating, because I asked about affordability, and they said they've had tickets down as low as $11. On the high side, I've heard, I wasn't told this, I was told that they get up around 200. Okay, you probably have a high-end game somewhere. And
Still less expensive than having nice seats at the arena.
It's warm, it's inviting, you get served food and beverage.
Yeah, I own a ticket, too.
It's nice, it's good.
One additional question for Commission Member Whitfield, just about your experience there. So, in a stadium, you see across the stadium, right, to the people sitting across from you. Is it true that here you can't see across from you because the screen is there, right? And so, is it sort of more like your party is? And how much could you see your fellow viewers in the venue?
Let me understand. You mean at the game?
At your COSM viewing experience. Like the real life people who were there with you.
So they're clusters. There's a cluster about the size of one segment here. A little bit U-shaped, 4 to 6 people and a table. And you have those clusters, 1, 2, 3. And so somewhat semi-private. My experience, there was a server serving 2 or 3 of these at a time. And so their focus was on those individuals, those tables. The service was great. You want it for nothing. And the food was great. And so I thought that was good. So you're not waiting for somebody you don't have to summon. They're constantly coming in to see what you may want or need.
And you don't have to miss any part of your show to get concessions, I guess.
It's like having a private box, basically.
Well, yeah, it is.
Right? I mean,
in just about anywhere you sat, even on the first floor, you saw some small round tables. So you can have those away from the booths. And I found There are times when people would have camaraderie between the boxes, but that's your private space.
That's nice.
It's different from being in, at a game, a live game. It's very different. I'm sorry?
It's probably better
Well, yeah.
because you don't have to deal with all of the people around.
I would.
You sound antisocial. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I will tell you what my experience here was. Probably would have been a greater venue if we had a game without a 40-point gap. I have never seen San Francisco play so poorly.
Oh, is that game? Oh, I remember
That game, yes, 40 points, and they never got above. I don't think they got any closer than about 10 or 12 points.
But then you drink more and eat more.
Oh, I ate more.
So one more question. How do you think that will have an effect on, say, for example, if we have a game with the Cavaliers here on the screen, how would it affect the price of a box for the Cavaliers season home game?
I don't know that any of us can opine on pricing, unfortunately.
I wouldn't attempt to do that. But I would question, would we put that live in COSM if they're right across the street live game?
I don't think so.
And I don't see that happening. I don't know that, but I don't see that happening.
I think it's a good question. I wonder if Nora has thoughts, because I think the Cavs just received an award for like the most like consecutive sellouts. So rather than build a addition on the arena or something, like this gives capacity. So I'm curious if those games would happen simultaneously.
To the chair, to Dan and others, everyone, I feel wholly unqualified to address these questions. And you know that I'm stick with you on planning, on public realm, on third spaces. I definitely don't want to address this. If I can refrain, I will.
Okay. Good.
I'm with you. I don't disagree with you at all. It's very difficult to determine. I thought about that and I said, I don't know. And I don't think any of us know. That will get figured out later. But to have this venue, you can see a live game across the country. You can see your favorite teams, basketball, football, wrestling, college, pro, certain movies that will immerse you in some technology that you won't see otherwise. I just thought those were some really cool things to do. It's certainly different from what we see in two-dimensional. Well, I shouldn't say two-dimensional, but three-dimensional, but in a reality for a movie or another setting. Really good.
Awesome.
So that was my take. Just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks for that.
Thank you guys for sticking with us past the noon hour.
It's director's report, I believe.
Just a very brief director's report. Wanted to attract everyone's attention to the fact that beginning the week of January 26th, there will be community conversations hosted around upcoming plans for school buildings that will be closing in August throughout the community. So these are opportunities for residents nearby who are impacted by those closures to share comments, concerns, any questions, as well as goals and strategies for reuse of those buildings and locations. There will also be a virtual questionnaire posted online for people that can't come to those meetings in person. And please consult the city's website for details about those specific meeting logistics as they are confirmed. My second and only remaining announcement is just to commission members. As a reminder, please review the rules and regulations for our commission and offer any feedback back to us. We'll be looking to bring that back to the commission for formal adoption at our February meeting. Thank you.
That's it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a nice one.